Can't ever speak during that intro. Just have to let it go. Let the good time. Dude, Still Point. If you have not listened to Still Point, go listen to Still Point. You can find the information right down over here. See, I'm going to put my little picture over here, and then I can just go right here. Right here. Go download it. Still Point, great band. They have been the Don't Unfriend Me band for 4 years. They are huge in Georgia. They make great music, and you should go listen to them. They are fantastic. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. Matthew Spear and Leroy down below. Leroy, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. We got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. We've got some judges and $48.7 million in contributions to judgeships. Okay, yeah, nothing like buying good law in politics. We're covering was not Adolf Hitler survived and alive in Buenos Aires, South America. New revelations very similar to the Kennedy assassination files have been released by the CIA and the Argentine government, and I'm here to talk about it with you. They're not done yet. Go back. We don't have time for that shit. Okay. U.S. scaling up in the Middle East. Got some satellite photos, a little place called Diego and ends with Garcia, and some movements that are all unclassified, so nobody flip out. It's just what I do, and they probably would rather have me not do that or other people, but guess what? You know, they taught us, and we know how to push it right to the edge where Leroy can't say anything, and he'll just smile and nod. Step on the gas is, and ticket scalping is out of control. Talk a little bit about that. And the filibuster, Cory Booker is in his 24th some odd hour. And I got to say, it's pretty impressive. He's not, but what he's doing is. Injunction, Junction, they have no function. Democrats, Republicans are both blaming each other for not being able to pass any type of legislation right now to stop the judges and all this other stuff. I'll tell you who it is. You're still a guy, an actress who says she's a guy, isn't. And then overtime, Tesla, Crybabies, and USAID. It's going to be a busy night. Get your butt in here. Please, my Twitter people. Looks like we are alive tonight, finally. We're finally getting some people on. It's been a real tough few days, but it feels like tonight's going to be a good night. So share the hell out of this, please. Let's rock and roll. Leroy, a man of few words, because I don't shut up.
I let you do your thing, and then if we wanted to, we could hash over stuff. I could go off on my own, and that'd be a hell of a show, right, within its own right. But you got the reins. I got you. I'm with you.
I appreciate you, buddy. Here we go. They don't call him the best color commentator in the business for anything.
No,
Ball 4. Ball 8. The Indians are suffering from propeller lag. You can't say "God damn it" on the radio. Who gives a fuck? Nobody's listening.
God, I loved him.
Yo, Jabu, bartender needs a refill. Melanie, I didn't check to see if you were alive because I just assumed you were doing something because I'm not your dad. I love you, and we missed you on Twitter because we were getting killed. Nice to see you back. We love you, Melanie. Thank you for being here. Yeah, just to let you know, the new Dumb Show shirt was requested last night. And listen, I fulfill my obligations. Somebody says, I want a Don't Unfriend Me shirt, and I want all the autographs of the hosts, and I want it now. Well, guess what? Hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, women's, men's, tank tops, all available with the Dumb Show shirt. Also, all our autographs are on the shirt. Are they real? Yeah, they're real, but they're not real in the sense that we sign every single shirt unless you request it. And if you do, we might be able to take care of you. And cold hard cash usually works, just to let you know.
There's some additional shipping involved with that.
Yeah, just a little bit of shipping. Now, it's not like rat line German Nazis expensive, but it's pretty close.
No,
just to let you.
Yeah,
but it's pretty close. Enough of this Olay shit, Dorn. You may run like Maze, but you hit like shit.
Dude, that guy was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
Hey guys,
Charlie, I'll call you back later. I got another guy on the other line about a pair of white walls.
America's headshot photographer, coming to you from my New York City studio. Great friend of the Dumb Show. It is now time to put down the camera because it's almost 7 p.m. and I'm gonna watch the coolest, the most real and raw show on the internet. It's on every night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the coolest guys, Matt, Olivia, Leroy, and Amy. You guys have to tune in to see it. It's gonna be something incredible every night. Check it out.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
So I need a favor. I think we're going to have to get a petition going from all the dummies to get Mike Morrell on here. He watches like the first part of my show. And, then
Okay.
he's got Matlock comes on. So he gets mad at me because he says I make fun of his age. When honestly, I just respect it so damn much and hope I'm as cool as he is when I finally turn the century. But I love this guy and his stories are incredible. And Leroy, you had a chance to meet him, right?
Yeah.
Did you meet him? You met him at the diner, Mike. Yep.
Yeah.
So we want to get him on, and he's such a good dude. He loved you, by the way. He just like, dude, I really like Leroy, and I really, I'm like, well, then you need to come on. He's like, I'll come on when Tonto comes on. I'm like, well, you're not be waiting too long, but we got to get him on, and I would love to. Folks, welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Speaking of the Barry Morgenstein intro, I just got done working on his bio, and he's such a nice guy. He just calls me and goes, hey, man, I need a new bio for my website. Can I pay you some money to do it? I'm like, no, you can't pay me. Like, if this was 2 years ago, you could pay me because I was starving. I felt like an out-of-work Hollywood actor. But now, so here's what we got so far. Can I run it past you guys? It's not that long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here it is. Barry Morgenstein is a master of the lens, known for capturing not just a person's image, but their essence. With a career spanning decades, Barry has cemented his reputation as one of America's premier portrait photographers, from capturing political powerhouses like Donald Trump and Ollie North to immortalizing rock legends like Steven Tyler and iconic actresses like Meryl Streep. Barry's portfolio reads like a who's who of American culture. His work has graced the pages of national magazines, album covers, book jackets, and press kits, earning him industry awards and a loyal client base that stretches across generations. What sets Barry apart isn't just his technical skill, it's the unmistakable signature style that's come to define his brand. His portraits are instantly recognizable, raw yet polished, intimate yet commanding. Whether he's working with a fresh-faced actor taking their first step into the industry or a household name looking to redefine their image, Barry delivers the same level of professionalism, creativity, and precision. His sessions are collaborative, relaxed, and always centered on bringing out the subject's most authentic self. Barry Morgenstein Studios is proudly based in New York City, a hub of creativity that reflects his own dynamic energy. Yet his reach is far from limited to Manhattan. Barry regularly travels to key creative markets, including Nashville, Tennessee, D.C., Virginia, Palm Beach, Jupiter, Florida, where clients line up for a chance to get in front of his camera. His mobile studio setup ensures that no matter the location, the experience and results are as polished and powerful as his New York City headquarters. Beyond celebrity and corporate portraits, Barry also is deeply committed to family photography and commercial services. His family sessions are cherished for their warmth and authenticity, creating timeless keepsakes for parents, grandparents, and growing families. Meanwhile, his commercial work helps businesses elevate their brand identity with high-impact visuals that command attention and tells a story. Barry's heart, however, has always been with Americans' veterans. A proud patriot and longtime supporter of those who served, Barry frequently donates his time and talents to honor military heroes through photography. Whether it's providing portraits for veteran-led nonprofits, capturing events that spotlight military service, or simply offering his services to vets and their families, Barry ensures their stories are seen and remembered with the dignity they deserve. His respect for the armed forces is reflected not only in his work, but in his voice as an advocate and ally. Barry approaches every shoot with the same philosophy. Everyone has a story, and every story deserves to be told well. That's why his clients don't just walk away with incredible photos, they walk away with renewed sense of confidence and identity. In a world full of filters and fakery, Barry captures the real you in the best possible light. If you're looking for more than just a picture, if you want a photograph that speaks, Barry Morgenstein is the name to trust.
I love that.
We'll see what he does with it.
This
sucks.
Love that. And I'll tell you what, every word of that is true because it takes a lot to make me look, and he did an amazing job with it. And I'm serious. Like, I'm not very photogenic, and I have enough, modesty to admit that. This guy made me look like I belonged on CNN or one of those. I mean, it was amazing. And it was relaxed. It really was.
CNN. You don't belong on CNN.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I'm just saying you don't belong on CNN.
From the why not? I'd go on there and wreck things. I don't care.
No. It was
from the initial picture. You would look at that and go, "That guy's a newscaster," right? And he will take a photo of you that you didn't think you had in you, and it builds that confidence to the point where you're like, "Man, I could do that, couldn't I? I absolutely could. I have that." He was so cool. I loved him.
I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to let you go. You got it. You got it. You just... Mic drop. You belong on CNN, Leroy. Just don't hurt me. Just go wherever you want to go. Go wherever you want to go. My point is that your intellect far supersedes the lowbrow, antiquated news legacy media of CNN. Is like you deserve to be on your own show. In fact, I expect you to fly from the nest and get out and go find your own show. Go sow your royal oats, Your Highness.
As they say. Yes.
Bark like a dog. Woof, woof.
The ninth inning stretch is brought to you by the hell with it. I can't find it. The hell with it.
I look like a banker in this. God, I love it when Leroy's on. All right, let's get to it. We've got a busy show tonight, folks. If you haven't had a chance, Liv, you didn't reset the goal. Sorry, folks. I got to reload it. Let's see. Oh, there.
While she's doing that, just a quick anecdote. I was living in Cleveland when they filmed that movie, and they were calling for extras to go down and sit at the old municipal stadium. And I didn't get to go, but I heard it was a blast. God, that would have been awesome.
What were we talking about?
Major League. That was filmed at the Cleveland Municipal Stadium, and I was living in Euclid at the time.
Oh yeah,
it's right. It's like 10 minutes outside where Muni was, and we used to go down there and party it up. They would have parties in the parking lot, and there was the whole tailgating thing. Well, when they filmed it, they really did film that movie in Cleveland Municipal Stadium.
Yeah,
so they were trying to fill it up.
McGuire says, "What a weak bark." You didn't know which movie I was doing Coming to America, where he's like, bark like a dog. And he's like, woof, yeep, yeep, yeep. Jump on one leg.
That's my
Rocky Marciano. He beat Joe Lewis's ass. He did beat Joe Lewis's ass.
only thing I remember about Coming to America was Sam Jackson's. That was like his first movie, right?
Yeah, when he's got the shotty and he tries
Yeah.
to rob and he robs them. Yeah, and then they're all wearing. He's like, "Want to buy some fineries?" He's like, "Thief!"
That was a very young Samuel L. Jackson at about 41.
That's a good movie. Yeah, well, he's always been 41. He came out smoking cools with a Kangol.
Right.
You know, he's like, "Mama, where are the white women at?" So that was Samuel L. Jackson. All right. We got a busy show, folks, and I better stop screwing around because we don't have time for this. You're very yellow and orange tonight. I don't know what you did to your lighting again, but it looked really good the last time you did it. But now you look like literally like Mercury is like in orbit. So
In retrograde. Try that.
Bobby says, Matt, can you jump on one foot again? Sure.
Let's try that.
Roof, 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 roof. We can do it all day long. Matt, I have a question. What do you think of Patrick Bet David? I think he is ignorant and has no idea how Canada works. For instance, only Americans can bet in poly market, and he takes that as facts. I think every person's ignorant to a certain extent. Patrick Bet David probably is no exception. We have all been, whoa, that's too dark. Now look at your green, dude. You're being overtaken by the green slime. Dude, your green screen's taking over. We're all going to die. Jeez Louise, what did you do to your lighting? It sucks. It's horrible.
I'll play with it later.
You should play. You should play with it now. I think everyone would enjoy. Okay, so Patrick Bet David is a very smart guy. How can you say that for a guy who's a multimillionaire? He has a multifaceted network and media company. Some of the people who he has on are complete dipshits. I don't like his co-hosts. I think they lower the quality of the show. But I think Patrick Bet David is a prompt purveyor of people. He is a strong, inquisitive, and curious human being. I think he's wrong about things, and I think he's right about things, just like everybody. But he doesn't put me off. He actually entertains me. Go ahead.
I've watched him a handful of times. I can't really engage with him. I can't get into him, as they say. But and it's not because he's not talented. He clearly is, and he knows what he's talking about most of the time. It's just that for me, that it's either in the way he presents in his tone, or something seems mildly superficial about him. But I'm not saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's not the case. I'm just saying it's not for me necessarily, if that makes sense. Just like how you find some comedians funny and some not. Like, I don't think that Patrick Bet David, for me, that's not a guy that I will watch routinely.
No. And I won't. And I didn't say Leroy doesn't look fine. I said he looks very, very red. And normally when his lighting is correct, it's like, look at him. He looks like he's like bright red. And see how his green screen, it means it's too dark and the lighting is not right. So how about this? Something. Yeah, try to play around with it. See what you can do, because the quality of your camera is important to me. All right, so now that we've got that all out of our system, by the way, April Fool's has been a particular day of rough foolery. And so the Avalanche put up a picture of Cale Makar, and they said Cale Makar got a lower body injury last night. He is month to month and will probably miss the first round of the playoffs. And I'm like, you've got to be effing kidding me. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche have missed about 700 more man hours of our man games than anyone else in the NHL. We have missed more games than everyone by far. And I'm like, we're finally healthy and we're tearing it up. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they're like, April Fools. I'm like, you sons of guns. You sons of guns. Lear, I can tell you what it is. It's too dark. You have a light. This light way over here on your face is on, and the one on the other one. Something's goofy with your lighting. Like, because your backdrop is not well lit. Let me see if I can try to play on mine. I hate to do this in the middle of the show, but it's really bad.
How's that?
No. You still look at you. Can't you see your picture? Like, what are you using new lights or something?
No, I didn't change anything.
Well, dude, don't get upset. I'm just letting you know it looks bad. So, I mean, I could lie to you. I could tell you, well, that's a little better. I'm gonna turn down we're just gonna turn you like a Smurf. There.
Oh, I like Smurfs.
Okay. Whatever. We'll figure it out. We got to get your new setup in there. Like, dude, it's waiting for you. It's sitting here collecting dust. It wants you to install it. But we're gonna move on. Okay. First rule of Fight Club. Holy crap, we have so much to do, and I don't know why we're yapping still. U.S. scaling up in the Middle East. So, as most of you may or may not know, LEEROY is still works for a government agency and has still military. So he protects his name, and obviously when we talk about certain things, he can and cannot comment on certain things, and usually he's pretty good at just budding out of that information. And there's nothing really here that's going to break the bank, so to speak. But I thought it was important to at least share some of the things that are going on. I'm gonna have to refix this window. Let me close this. And let me switch.
While he's playing with that, I will let everyone know that because of my current affiliations still with the U.S. government, I've never released my real name on the show, and I don't even want to get it confused in terms of like some people. I've heard of people getting swatted. I've heard of, just when a conservative voice go ahead and puts their opinion out there, the venom that comes from the left is usually very swift. And so I have gone out of my way to make sure that when I tell somebody anything factually about what's going on with the government or the military, that I am not speaking on behalf of the government. I am not speaking on behalf of the Navy. And so, yeah, that's why Matt is trying to make that clear.
Yeah. Christian Rodriguez says 4 aircraft carriers are deployed, 5 stealth bombers. There's a lot more than that. Those are some random numbers for sure. But to say that there's 4 carriers deployed, usually at all times, deployed, meaning not in the continental U.S. or in territorial waters, there's at least 5 at all times pretty much out. But that's fine. What we're seeing is a lot of different movements around Yemen and a scaling up predominantly around Diego Garcia. This is where those stealth bombers, actually 6 B-2 Spirits, have been moved to Diego Garcia. We know that. And also 6 to 7 KC-135s for refueling opportunities. The thing is that the B-2 bomber, I'll give you the unclassed version of its range, is over 2,000 miles, and it can do that fairly easily, and I'm not going to go into any other details. So reaching places like Yemen is simple in Diego Garcia. It's well within its strike range. And even if you wanted to go into Iran and other places, you can do that too. You're looking at the Harry S. Truman CSG, so the carrier battle group is moved in there. And that comes with the USS Gettysburg, the Stout, the Sullivans from the Fighting Sullivans. Great movie, by the way. The Jason Dunham, and then the USNS Arctic, and then one fast attack sub, undisclosed SSN, which you don't need to know about. And then Bahrain, also right above UAE, has a smaller group, but not a carrier battle group. And then you have the USS Georgia, which I think designation is SSGN 729 or 720, one of the two. It's 720. But that is there. Also, P-8 Poseidon and C-17 Globemasters, which are obviously there for various reasons, and can be used for supply, can be used for carrying equipment and troops, but predominantly also intelligence purposes and carrying certain groups that like to do certain things. And then up to the north, around Israel, you've got a DDG up there, Oscar Austin, the Mount Whitney, and then the USNS Laramie. God, I haven't heard about that in a while. So you're seeing some fairly large movements building up into the southern corridor into Yemen, and you're also seeing a lot of movement of stealth attack, which would be pretty much not necessarily for the West Yemenis. You're not going to use B-2s at that altitude, but there are some other targets in that area that B-2s most assuredly would hit that could support those proxies as far as command and control. Go ahead, LEEROY.
Also, just real quick, right off of USNI News. So this is and it's something I just pulled up just randomly while we were talking. It's probable that the USS Carl Vinson is likely headed to the area. So,
Which
as well as
also,
the
yeah, that's a
Truman.
lot. That's a lot of firepower and a lot of extended
That's a lot
wartime.
of bang. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, considering then you have to go ahead and look at the things that we didn't talk about. So with the Mount Whitney and the Laramie and the Austin up in Cyprus against Israel's western border, you're also seeing CTF 52, the Urquhart, and the Shepherd in the Persian Gulf. These are ocean trader and special operations drone vessels and Hilo mothership out of Bahrain, I believe. I believe they're out of Bahrain.
Can you enlarge that at all?
Not much, buddy. What do you want to show? What do you want me to show you?
Nothing. I'll talk with you after.
Fair enough. 158 air and naval strikes targeting Houthi infrastructure and leadership since March 15th. The Truman, the Gettysburg, the Arctic, the Dunham, the Sullivans, and the Stout up north in the northern Red Sea is continuous strikes against the Houthis there. And also, there's a reason why it's up in the northern part of Saudi Arabia. Houthis don't necessarily want to fuck with the Sauds. Then you've got carrier wings. So, and this is incredible, the amount of carriers the carrier wings you've got in here. You've got VF-11, 143, 81, 136, the VAQ 144, VA 126, the 40 VRC, the HSM-72, and the HSC-11, which are helos designated by the H, the MH-60s, Rs, and Ss. The C2 and E2s are radar birds and sub-hunters, and then the EA-18Gs and Es are the Red Dippers, the Pukin Dogs, the Sunliners, the Nighthawks, and the main battery. So you've got a lot of aircraft in that area. Strike packages for these are obviously FA-18s, Es and Fs, the MQ-9 Reapers, and then obviously Tomahawks. And then all of these beautiful vessels, including now another carrier group entering the area. This is absolutely an expansion of U.S. presence in the Middle East to possibly roll to fight a multi staged approach strike on multiple independent targets in different countries. Thoughts, Leroy?
If there was any way that Donald Trump could send a message to the Houthis or to any other nation states or terrorist states, this would be it. This is his way of saying, no, you're not doing this anymore, and we're going to make sure of it.
Yeah, here's something that Leroy will know readily, and I don't expect him to say much on here.
That's a chunk of star. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Diego Garcia, which is a pivotal piece of land inside the Indian Ocean and Arab Sea, which predominantly gives us multifaceted, multi-pronged attack. And the thing that a lot of people don't know about Diego Garcia, and I can't go into a whole bunch of details, but from an intel perspective, it is essential to the United States because it does a lot of things that Leroy and myself cannot talk about, that a lot of people don't know what it can and can't do. But B-2s are what it's known for, and its bombers. B-52 Stratofortress was also a heavy hitter coming out of there. B-2s replaced those pretty much, but there are B-52s still on Diego Garcia. It's still an amazing aircraft for moderate to mid to high level bombing runs. Stealth capability is shit. Leroy, go ahead.
For anybody who doesn't necessarily know where this is at, and it's not like this is anything you can't Google, but if you were to like draw an imaginary line right off of the southern tip of India and draw an easternly line right off of like the Horn of Africa, where those two would meet is about where Diego Garcia is.
Yeah. So as Christian said, 4 B-2s, it was 4, March 29th, but since then they've added 2 more. And this is all in class. You can find this on USNI. This is on several different sites. And trust me, counterintelligence for foreign governments has all this information readily available. And the United States is not afraid to release some of this information because there are several reasons why you will not hit Diego Garcia for the same reason that we won't hit the oil refineries in Iran. There's certain things you don't do that would declare war on the United States, and one of them, attacking Diego Garcia, would not be one of them. So, or would be one of them. So it's kind of got that. This is a speakeasy kind of thing. You screw with Diego Garcia, you're going to go to war. So this is just to give you an idea of what's going on in the Middle East. So the question is, and the answers hopefully will come from a fairly non-specific way. Why are we doing this, buddy? What's up? Why are we expanding all these carrier groups in that area, from Ticonderoga class to Arleigh Burks to carriers? What are your thoughts?
Now, and this is honest to God truth, right? I have not looked on the high side to investigate, what the hell, anything beyond the obvious, which is the posturing from the White House with regard to the Houthis. So my gut feeling, again, this is all just speculation from my part. If I were a betting man, I might be looking at the area known as the BAM, right, which is Houthi controlled. I think the administration is just trying to look for a solid win, as if to say, look, they're not going to fire any more rockets in that area towards either U.S. vessels or commercial shipping or anybody else that the Houthis just, are looking to irritate. That would be my guess.
Mel says, Matt, was this from your last Signal app conference call? No, I don't require heads of state to keep me informed on intelligence matters. If I did, I would never know anything.
That's fair, because we did have the Atlantic guy in there, right?
Yeah. But Leroy gets my point. You don't listen to the department heads; that they don't know anything. So you want to find out the true scoop and the straight poop. You go to the mess hall and you listen and you talk to your buddies on the ground. But this isn't difficult information to obtain once you know where to look for it, just like everything. But to the layman, people go, "Oh my God, Matt's got satellite photos. He has access to satellite." No, I have access to sites that have access to. I used to have access to that stuff. I don't have access to it now, and I certainly wouldn't be tracking U.S. vessels if I did. So this information isn't hard to find. Most of it is released by the United States government. So I always ensure that when I talk about troop movements and stuff, that it's old news, that it's a couple days cold, and the wake has already settled. And the wake has already settled. These ships are now in position in theater, and
they were talking about the B2s on Sunday news. So yeah.
And that's usually my stay of execution is about 72 hours. And the reason, and it's still faster than most people get it, but it's a good idea. You don't talk about deployment, and you certainly don't do it on a Signal app. And I've already told you what I thought about that, and so did Leroy. Was it TSSCI? No. Was it red flag? Yeah. Was it smart? Well, it's never smart to put a reporter, and if the reporter wasn't there, then everything would have been fine. So there we go. Iran claims to have loaded their missile silos. Great. Do that. What are they going to stick in there? Bunny rabbits? What are you going to do? Good. I'm glad. Great. Have fun with that. And yes, they've successfully put an ICBM into the outer atmosphere. And yes, they can hit Israel and other places. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. Launch an ICBM vertically into the stratosphere and to hit Israel and watch what happens. Watch what happens, Iran. Seriously. Fuck around and find out. Hypothetically, Leroy, they put an ICBM into the stratosphere. It hits our early warning systems, comes down. What's going to happen to Iran? Or at least from the launch designation. What do you think?
When you say the launch designation, what do you mean? They will quickly look to identify the type of missile, right?
Right.
And
that's
when
what I
say
mean by designation.
When I say quick, I'm saying within 90 seconds of launch, they will know exactly what type of missile that is. And based off of that, right, if they know what kind of missile it is, they will say, all right, if this is the type of missile, this is its range, this is its potential payload, these are its capabilities, and based off of bearing, where the thing could be headed. So that might be enough. That might be enough to garnish a response just based off of that.
Launch designation, what I mean by that, and thanks for clarifying, is what type of launch it is. So a designation is it a portable launch? Is it a silo? Is it a sub? What type of missile is it? What's its bearing? What's its speed? Right. What's probability of death toll? The designation. So they have a classification of all of that. And Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
either MRBMs, CRBMs, ICBMs.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are the ranges of those missiles, and all of them, whether they go ahead and can actually fly into the troposphere and stratosphere, whether they actually are just a mid to low altitude reentry, whether it is a long range or a short range, and all of these are intermediate sizes for these missiles. Designation being, go ahead.
The air. I don't mean to interrupt.
You're not.
The
Dude,
Air
shut
Force.
up. We're doing what we would do in a skiff. We're talking.
The Air Force actually identifies those based off of ranges, and that anything that's got a range beyond a particular mile marker, we'll say, is considered an ICBM, and usually that's. I don't know if I don't think I can say that. I don't think I can say any of these mile ranges, but they classify them in terms of ICBM is the longest. Then it goes MRBM, then CRBM, then
CRBM.
SRBM.
Yep. And the designations are fine because you have the class and the unclass, right? They have what they tell the general public, like the altitude of the SR-71 and the U-2 spy plane. They give you the general answer, but that's not even close to the actual. Right. So some information is given to the general public because here's your need to know, which is nothing. And if you need to know, then it's something else. So when I say designation, the computer systems are going to calculate all of that information and spit out a designation on this. And this could be an alpha priority, a Bravo priority, Charlie priority, or a 1, 2, 3, 4, or a red, yellow, green, depending upon what designation they have. That will give you your retaliatory response. Because if you think what's going to happen is that the United States is going to wait for that missile to hit to retaliate, that's not the way it works. So there will be a, depending upon designation of the missile and the threat, will base upon the response. And if anyone thinks that Iran has a nuclear warhead that's capable of being on an ICBM or any other range missile, that is not what the intelligence states at this time. So they can launch the silos. They can stuff the silos full of turkeys and dinner cutlery if they want to. But who cares? Good, do it. Iran doesn't scare me. So. Yeah, moving on. But the whole point is this, is Leroy's right. This is a show of force, but a show of force is a couple guided missile cruisers and an additional sub in the Red Sea. This is a theater movement. This is a large scale movement saying this is kind of your last straw before we unleash the full mighty force of the United States military. Yeah. At least from a chess piece perspective. This is a very large movement. This is billions of dollars. Billions.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of a bunch of lippy porn actresses showing up on set, and then the United States says, you know what, we're going to show up, and the next thing you know, it's Ron Jeremy on steroids.
Yeah. Jeanette, my beard's shorter than it's been in a long time, so I don't know what you mean. I have a beard year round. I always have a beard. Me wearing a hoodie is crazy. Leroy's wearing a hoodie. In the winter I wear my hoodies, but it's warm right now. But I just got done with a big run, and I was feeling really kind of cold, so I put on a hoodie. But I always have a beard. Ever since I got out of the military, I've always had a beard. I just can't. So there you go. There's your sit rep. Pretty easy. I would consider that the United States is not playing around with Iran anymore. And the remaining proxies really are, it's HK season. You know, this is all hunter-killer type stuff. And they've got the assets in place to do it. So they can run 24-hour war on multiple countries right now if they want to. 24-hour sorties all day long. Flight deck hot all day long. Nobody's getting sleep. If you're on a carrier, you hate life.
I'll say this. For us to send as many as, 3, 4 carriers to a similar area all at the same time, that is a show of force that has not been exhibited in several decades. If I can't recall anything this big. So this should be enough to pucker up everyone in that immediate area, because just one aircraft carrier has 5 to 10 times the firepower of a standardized, a smaller, like an amphib or something like those. I heard an interesting statistic once that said that if you were to sail the entire blue water navy of the world against the United States, that 3 aircraft carriers from us would end it in about 5 hours.
Yeah, you guys just don't understand the power of the United States Navy, no matter about DEI or anything else. The technology is so far, like everyone like watches Hunt for October and like, oh wow, Russia and the United States are really, really close. Not anymore.
Yeah.
That's and it wasn't even that back then, but it's really not that now.
Yeah,
like
because
people
that
are like,
assumed a giant technological leap forward for the Russians, right? That wasn't even physically possible at the time, but everything that was depicted in the movie for our side was legitimate.
yes,
And so
yeah, yes,
and there was a little bit of a disparity, but it wasn't that much. But that was with fictional equipment from Russia, you know?
right. Well, Russia was shipping Kilo SS submarines, diesel second generation subs to Iraq during the first Gulf War, or excuse me, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and the technologies, and they were in service literally 3 or 4 years before. So Russia is they've got a mighty navy. There's no doubt about it. It's a mighty navy. It's fantastic against any other navy besides us. And everyone's like, well, what if a boomer slips in? We've had those boomers. We haven't lost contact with one of those boomers in probably 12 years. So every single boat that Russia has, we know about it. Like, well, yeah, but they might have a Caterpillar drive. No, okay. Maybe John F. Kennedy's alive on there with Hitler. All right, move on. So here's the thing. Did you see this article, dude? Secret documents on Nazis who fled to Argentina after World War II declassified.
I did not see that one.
Holy crap.
Where
we have
was
so
that
much. Oh, this was everywhere. Well, it was on Argentina, the Ba Times, and it was also on Fox. So let's take a look at it because it's really interesting. So secret documents on Nazis who fled after World War II declassified. Let's go to reader mode so we get all these ads off of here. Gotta love a Mac. Boom. Secret documents on Nazis who fled to Argentina after World War II have been declassified. They have Nazi-linked bank accounts and records documenting the use of Nazi rat lines. If you don't know what a rat line is, essentially what those were designed to do was to sneak scientists and leadership of the Nazi regime out of Germany safely into Venezuela and Buenos Aires, where many Nazis survived and lived. Bombshell CIA document has been released, 1955, the possibility that Hitler survived and escaped to South America. Argentina is set to declassify all government-held files relating to Nazi fugitives who fled and settled in Argentina after World War II, according to reports. These are the bank accounts, dental records, those type of thing, logistical pathways. They use rat lines, and these, once again, were essentially, imagine an underground railroad for Nazis or Jews. Guillermo Alberto Franco, he's the interior minister, announced Tuesday that the Buenos Aires Times reported, citing DN News, it estimated that up to 10,000 Nazis and other fascist war criminals escaped justice from the Holocaust atrocities by fleeing to Argentina and other Latin American countries. Notorious high-level Nazis, including Holocaust mastermind Adolf Eichmann and the Angel of Death and Joseph Mengele, fled to South American countries, while rumors have swirled for years. The former Nazi Party leader, Adolf Hitler, also ended up there. Pending release from the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Chuck Grassley from Iowa requested their release last month in a letter. In the letter, Grassley wrote that the records would help shine a light on Nazi planning to covert escape routes. So this is the big hoopla about this, and the interesting thing.
It's super creepy.
It is super creepy. So let's go into it, because this happens to be. I love World War II. It happens to be something that I care a lot about. And we're going to go into a little bit about this and watch a couple of videos to help us close the lines. Here is the crime scene of Adolf Hitler. Now, you may remember that Hitler, his dental records were actually held by Russians. The actual bunker where he supposedly offed himself was first approached and cataloged by Russians. And it's the understanding that several different rumors that his jawline and teeth were removed. A lot of people believe that his head was removed by the Russians, and they took his cranium, which had the pistol shot, which ultimately took his life. Here's the video. watch this, and this is cool because I know you love this type of shit too. So let's watch this real quick. Have I seen Hunting Hitler? I actually have not. Jamie Kennedy, or Tim Kennedy, not Jamie Kennedy, Tim Kennedy, talked about it today, and I actually have it on my watch list. I am going to watch it. I didn't watch it then because I heard that the last season was not picked up, and I don't like doing that, going into a show and then not having it conclude. But I am going to watch it now after hearing about this today. I've studied this almost as much as the Kennedy assassination. This is I don't care about Hitler. I care about World War II, and you can't study one without the other. So here's the video.
We narrated the official version of events at Fuhrer Bunker on April 30th, 1945 in our first video of this series, which we would highly recommend you to watch. But here's a small summary. After getting the news of the Red Army invading Berlin early in the morning of April 30th, 1945, Hitler and his new wife, Eva Braun, locked themselves in the study at 2:30 p.m. Moments later, Eva Braun chewed a cyanide capsule, and Hitler shot himself. The first witnesses, Otto Gunche and Heinz Linge, corroborated the deaths in their statements. They said they smelled a strong odor of burnt almonds on Eva Braun's corpse, an indication of cyanide poisoning. They also smelled gunpowder on Hitler's corpse, along with the gunshot wound in his skull. There is a slight controversy on the skull of Hitler, as in 2009, a bone-specializing archaeologist performed DNA and forensic tests on a sample of one of the skull fragments provided by Russian officials for an episode of a documentary TV show. The sample was found to be that of a woman under the age of 40. However, when the same set of researchers examined a blood-soaked piece of cloth from the sofa on which Hitler was sitting while he shot himself, the blood was said to be of a male. And here's where things get twisted. Neither Soviet nor Russian officials ever explicitly claimed the said skull was the main piece of evidence of Hitler's death. However, conspiracy theorists and books by amateur historians latched onto it and presented it as the main evidence of Hitler's death being a hoax. So, if not the skull fragments, what was the main evidence of Hitler's death? Well, as they say, you can only get the truth from a horse's mouth, or in this case, Hitler's mouth. The main piece of evidence collected from the hastily burned body of Adolf Hitler was his jawbone fragments and 2 dental bridges. In April 2018, memoirs of a Russian interpreter revealed that she had been entrusted with the grandest trophy of World War II, a set of Hitler's teeth. She was tasked with the job of cross-checking them against the dictator's dental records, and they matched. Ever since, the Russians have been keeping these dental remains safe. After months of negotiations, Russia's FSB Secret Service and the Russian State Archives permitted a team of French researchers to examine a skull fragment and bits of his teeth. Now, the piece of the skull had a hole on its left side, consistent with a bullet wound from the Walther PPK, with black charring around the edges. Those scientists were not allowed to take...
So the one thing is that's a 7.65 millimeter, just FYI. So when someone goes, well, how do you know it's a Walther PPK? Well, because this is what you do in forensics, is fire different size rounds into human cadavers, into ballistics gel, into all, and can recreate the overall damage, recreate the size of the injury, and those type of things.
That's a 380, right? A Walther PPK?
It was a 7.65 millimeter. There's several different variant round size for the PPK. So that I'm almost absolutely positive it was a 7.65, but we could check it. Let's check
samples from the skull. They noted in the study its shape seems totally comparable to radiographies of Hitler's skull taken a year before his death. But the final nail in the coffin was the analysis of the teeth fragments. At the moment of his death, Adolf Hitler had only 4 teeth in his mouth, which were misshapen, brown at the base, and flecked with white tartar deposits. And as the DNA matched, it's been proven that Hitler did die in 1945. Lead study author Philippe Charlier has validated that the teeth are authentic, and there is no possible doubt about it.
So, first video, and then I want to get to what was talked about South America. This is redacted. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to watch this show. It's really interesting to me when somebody the size that I got this video from recommends this, and I'm like, there are times when our show does close to the same level of views that Redacted is, and that makes me feel good. But they do a really good job of presenting, and I do like their stuff. Here is this.
Didn't kill himself in a bunker in Berlin as the Red Army closed in. I think that's, We all know that was a fabricated story, or if you watch this show, you probably understand that. Hitler actually fled Germany weeks before that using a group of underground tunnels that led to an airstrip, and that airstrip was flown. He was flown from Berlin out. It took submarines, or multiple submarines that were used, U-boats that were then.
So might be a little bit confusion here, and I think Tommy is right. It's a 32 ACP, which is true, but that is also a 7.65. But that's also a 7.65 millimeter, 7.65.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so the same round, just different names. So probably because of the metric system.
The metric system.
Right. Is that what we call quarter pounder over in Belgium? All right.
Sent to Argentina. In other words, Hitler lived for nearly 2 decades more in Argentina, along with.
And I know Hitler modified the weapon for sure, because it's not standard issue, but it was a modified Walther PPK to 7.65 millimeter. Someone check me on my facts. I'm almost 1,000,000% right. Pretty sure.
Vast numbers of the Third Reich. Well, now Argentinian President Javier Milei has just ordered the release of all remaining documents on all of those Nazis who fled Germany and moved to Argentina after World War II. Basically, it was almost like a second base of operations in Argentina. If you're not familiar with that, like basically the Third Reich operated out of Argentina and Germany. And many of them, including Adolf Hitler.
So sorry to interrupt. The pistol was originally designed to use a 7.65 millimeter round, which is also referred to as a 32 ACP in the United States. Hitler received a 7.65 Walther PP gun on his 50th birthday in 1939 with white ivory grips. The gun was most likely presented to Hitler personally by Walther, who armed much of his army with Walther P-38 semi-automatic weapons. Cool.
Lived in Argentina well after 1945. Most people know that Hitler lived out his days in Bariloche, Argentina, until he died there in the mid-1960s. Yes, you can read the CIA documents about this. The FBI documents also about sightings of Hitler in this area. They knew about it. Of course they knew about it. It was largely facilitated, I think it's safe to say, by the United States and its allies. Operation Paperclip, anybody? Quid pro quo?
Also, if you look into this, the skull that is held in Russia that was supposedly the remains of Adolf Hitler with a bullet wound in it is female.
Yeah.
So when you look for proof that Hitler did in fact kill himself, you are going to find a lot of dead ends.
Yeah, and all you need to read, you can read a great book on this called The Gray Wolf. It's a great book. There's many books written about this now. But yeah, the skull, the fragments, they ran the DNA tests on it. And the Soviets allowed them to do this testing, and even Stalin openly talked about that Hitler lived. That he was not there, so Stalin even knew about it. It's widely known.
Wow, Russians promoting propaganda? Never. No, what? This is ridiculous. There, of course, Stalin would never lie. I mean, come on. I mean, Stalin, please. You don't need a character witness for that guy. 50 million of them can tell you all about him.
In Argentina, by the way, well known that Hitler sired 2 children while he...
Howie, I'm so sorry to hear about your goat, man. That sucks, man. I love my pets, and I'm so sorry about that. If you want me to come out and shoot that coyote, I'll be happy to.
He lived in Argentina after the war. 2 girls. Wouldn't that be something to learn where Hitler's children are today? Like Hitler's descendants? That'd be interesting. Maybe we'll learn that in those documents as well. But we'll be watching this story. I'm fascinated. It seems like there's an open era of transparency right now. You might.
All right, Leroy. I'm gonna get to you first. I've got my opinions, and I'll tell you what I think. And I don't need to watch Hunting Hitler to know what it's about. I understand there's a lot of people who believe that he is alive, but there's some basic things that you probably aren't aware of. But let's go ahead and talk about it real quick.
Yeah. So, first of all, just embedded in the name, right? Hunting Hitler. It's an obvious, you're searching for the guy, right? And whether or not his demise at his own hand with his own Walther was in fact factual, or did he, scoot out of the country and find shelter in Argentina, apparently Bariloche. So I guess... even if you were to do the math and figure out, well, how old would he be? Chances are the man's dead. Now, whether or not we covered it up and hid him from the world and pocketed him in Argentina, that would be a huge story. I don't know, man. I'm always a little dubious about that because, when you read something in the history books that says, well, he took his own life and I don't know. I guess I would want to watch the entire thing for myself and do a little bit of that math that I like to do. And I don't know, like get the likelihood of it.
Right.
Does that make
And, well,
sense?
yeah, well, just like what we always do, you get the information and you disprove one piece, and then your entire, now everything's suspect, and now let's go ahead and pull the
Right.
thread and find the other things. And there's already things in here that are not true. Being at the skull, there was a DNA test run. They matched his record. I have all his dental records. I can show them to you if you want, but I'm not going to waste the time. I can actually show you Hitler's drawn and hand-drawn dental records. And I can show you several photos where Hitler did not like his teeth because he had several bridges. He had several false teeth. Some of them were discolored. He didn't have the best teeth, like a lot of people during those days in Europe. So matching his dental records, there is a prominent root canal in the front, in the position 2 tooth up on the top right of his mandible. That is absolutely a perfect match. Now you're like, okay, well, they recreated his dental records and they inserted okay, this isn't a movie. Here's the thing is there absolutely the United States, listen, smuggling Nazis out of Germany and bringing scientists to the United States was single-handedly what won us the Cold War. Without those scientists, we would be behind on rocket technology. Russia, Yuri Gagarin and others were making ungodly quality rockets that were on pace with the Germans, and being in open conflict with the Germans. They had to do that, just like we're right now not in open conflict with Russians, but we're trying to figure out defense system against hypersonic missiles, even though they're not necessarily as big as a deal as they are until the price comes down. But we're making defense systems and making our own hypersonic capabilities. So you usually do that with your adversaries. You play chess. So to sit here and say that Russia wasn't well advanced in rocket technology, they were. And the United States needed to catch up. And the way that we caught up, was bringing, Nazi scientists over here, Operation Paperclip. These things are all true. We know the CIA was involved. We know the Office of Strategic Service smuggled Nazis out. We know this. We also know for some of the information in the war crimes is that the rest of the world did not necessarily want to bring the Holocaust to the forefront. They wanted it to go away. And the reason why they wanted it to go away is because the English did some atrocious things with the United States' help too. So I've talked about the bombings in Dresden in Germany, which was a Beverly Hills of Germany, where it had no military targets whatsoever, and they just murdered 60,000 high elite citizens in Germany. That's pretty bad. We also flashed 2 cities in Japan. There's a lot of things that were going on, and the world had just been kind of like, we're done. We know the tribunals are taking place. We know the Nuremberg trials are taking place. Yes, they are kind of a faux court. These people were sentenced based upon their interactions with the Nazis. They had eye count reports of people and Jews saying that these people were in camps. This was all just done at a speed clip to get it out of the press and move on. It's a horrible thing. Am I surprised that some Nazis were put in another location for turning evidence or giving secrets or talking about locations of where scientists would be or how to go ahead and find this or that? Maybe, because that's what human intelligence does. But did Adolf Hitler escape? Well, right now, those CIA records that they're talking about and Buenos Aires does not have Adolf Hitler as one of the people. He has been cited about 700 times since his death in all of these documents. But people said Kennedy was still alive. People saw Oswald popping up for 50 years. So I just want you to understand that just because you collect a piece of intel or some guy says something and it's documented doesn't mean that that's the truth. Okay. That's the way these things work. So do I think Hitler died in that bunker with Eva Braun? Yes. And until I see some conclusive evidence that dissuades me, just like I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald was on the street. That's the new thing that NBC has a video. I don't believe it because there's 9 eyewitnesses who worked in the depository, police officers, who all account for Oswald in the cafeteria. And in this, there's also 7 people who accounted for Hitler in that bunker who are still alive. Otto Gunsk, his personal adjutant, and then his valet, Heinz Lingy, I think is his name or something like that. And then Kemke, it was his chauffeur, all said that Hitler was in the bunker. I'll take eyewitness accounts over speculative nonsense 20 years later. Anything else in this, Leroy?
I've watched several specials on this, and ultimately what happened at the end of World War II was it was kind of a wake-up call for the United States. A lot of people don't really know this, but, when we first got out of World War II, the U.S. expansion was just unimaginable, and we had something like 30,000 bases across the globe. Our GNP doubled within a year. We became the biggest creditor in the world, and we commanded half of the world's manufacturing capacity, and we owned 2/3 of all of the gold stocks. So at the conclusion, a lot of people, will say, well, who won World War II? If you're talking about who came out on top, almost certainly you'd have to say the US. But if you think about who took the most beating from World War II, almost certainly, you'd have to at least include Russia, who lost something like 25 million people they lost, whereas the United States lost something like a couple 100,000.
Yeah, and the Germans, the Germans were much more than that, but they were also fighting the war on multiple fronts. But Russia, not just the 25 million, because if you go back to World War I to World War II, you're talking about almost 50 million people wiped out. That is an incredible. Can you just imagine this? Just imagine 10% of our population dying. What would happen? 33 million people just dead. Well, I'll tell you what will happen. It'll have an impact on the economy. It'll have impact on the workforce. It'll have supply chain infrastructure. To have just 32 million people out of work and not, and then you have children who are left without parents and you have grandparents without care. This would be a massive undertaking. And the fact that Russia relatively bounced back fairly quickly to get into a Cold War with the United States shows that they starved their people effectively even then. And they did.
Yeah.
Russia's a bastard.
Absolutely. And the other part of that, which was, kind of alluding to Operation Paperclip, there was that constant, ebb and flow in terms of who was actually ahead during the space race, right? And Russia, they were the first ones to get a satellite up. That was Sputnik. They were the first ones to get Yuri Gagarin into space, right? And so America was playing a lot of catch up. And I think the heat was on, and I remembered watching. I remembered watching The Right Stuff, back in the early '80s, and I thought that one of the fascinating lines was the vice president asking the lead German scientist, well, why are they so far ahead? It's because they got better scientists and this German scientist was like, no, our Germans are better than their Germans. It was so petty, but you have to wonder, to what extent did the German technological advantage that we imported, to what extent did that bring us up to the front of the line,
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying Yuri Gagarin, because I switched that with Sergei Korolev, who was the designer of a lot of the rockets that were used. And I just mixed up the names. I apologize. So when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, Gagarin was not. I missed that by 40 years. So it happens, folks. I've been wrong once. But Sergei Korolev is the person who I meant to say. Listen, there's so many Russians and only so many little times. There's only so many Kevs and Dropovs that you can remember without screwing it up. But yeah, so we can sit here and pick this apart. We don't know. Very well, Hitler could have lived his days, and Osama bin Laden, could have been killed in that small estate. Who knows? There's people who say he did die that day, and there's some people who say that he died of kidney failure. There's some people who say that we shot him that day. There's some people who said that we didn't. You'll never know. But what you can do is you can look at the evidence of the people saying it didn't happen, and you can usually disprove those people very quickly. So I'm going to watch the, Hunting Hitler, whatever it is. And I'll let you know what I think. But like most of these videos, you can cut video and take your spin on historical documents to prove your point. And when your title says hunting Hitler, it's like kind of like finding Sasquatch, right?
Right.
You can have hundreds of hours of Sasquatch findings, but we haven't found him yet. Well, no, you haven't found him in human history. Since we developed charcoal and parchment, or charcoal and wood to draw on, there is no documentation of Sasquatch. So yes, there is. There's cave. No, there's not. You might have people who have active imaginations, but that's not quite the same thing. Okay, so they still have those finding Sasquatch videos, and no one's ever found a thing. And everyone keeps watching. It's like Ghost Hunter. Now on Discovery, Ghost Hunter.
And the fact is, none of this stuff is. I mean, are you going to be able to prove it? Like beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, they would have to come up with something like a complete, it would be so biblically huge that it wouldn't just be confined to a podcast. No offense to Redacted. I'm sure that they're awesome. I've only seen them once. What I'm saying is that like it would be major frontline news.
Yeah, Redacted's okay. They get a little. I don't like their position on the Jews. I don't like their position on a lot of things. I'm not a huge fan of their stuff, but they present well, and that's good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I just got a question. I was reading it. Sorry. Someone was asking, my grandfather fought in World War I. What was the war about? I mean, you can say it was tribalism. You can say it was a bunch of different nations all going to different ways. I mean, a lot of people talk about the death of Archduke Ferdinand from Austria in 1914 was a catalyst for this to happen, which really kind of set everything off. Supposedly the war to end all wars, that really wasn't it. The Great War is the name that actually, the moniker that should have stuck to it, because it was an incredible war that was fought over trench warfare and was fought over inches, where World War II was fought over miles. World War II was a fast-paced war, and although drew lines in the sand when it came to Normandy and certain areas of Europe, it was a war of miles. And once the battle lines were drawn, there would be massive pushes into enemy territory or allied territory. In World War I, it was all trench warfare. It was dig a line, have a machine gun to it, and storm the bomb. If you haven't seen the movie Gallipoli, go watch it. It's probably one of Mel Gibson's best movies, and nobody's watched it. Like, nobody has seen Gallipoli. Have you seen Gallipoli?
Older, isn't it?
Oh, it's way older. It's about the runner from Australia, and I can't remember his name, who basically enlists, and he's from Australia. They both are. And this runner is supposed to be like the white Jesse Owens before Jesse Owens was really Jesse Owens, right? And they both go, and you get to see them fight in Turkey, and you get to see, it just goes through the trench warfare, and it is incredibly sad.
For whatever reason, the one that always got me in terms of movies was always All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know why.
Great. Yeah, that's so good.
But I'm going to have to watch Gallipoli now. I knew it was a little bit older, and I don't recall when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, but I know I have a copy of it laying around somewhere.
Yeah, well, watch Gallipoli for me. It's a fantastic movie. The sound is a little off because it's an older movie, but it's an Academy Award style movie. World War I looked at as nationalism, tribalism, nationalism, imperialism, but Ferdinand was the big one. But it was a mangled mess of web alliances, which is why you're very careful with NATO of who we allow in and who you swear allegiance to, because one attack puts you into a war. That's World War I. But this was a nasty war. You had mustard gas and chemical weapons were being used. I mean, the Geneva Convention of, not torturing people and taking hostage. This shit, it was bad. It was brutal. 21 million wounded, 20 million deaths. 41 million people impacted by World War I. And guess what we decided? Well, 20 years later, it's time to go do it again. But now you know why we were so hesitant, right? Why it took so long to get into England and go back. Go ahead.
Most Americans did not want the war. Most Americans.
No. Yeah.
I want to say there was a statistic that was put up by the History Channel at one point that suggested that as much as 70% of Americans were in support of neutrality. We didn't want to be involved, but it wasn't until Pearl Harbor. The moment they attacked Pearl Harbor, it was like a lightning rod, and all of a sudden America had something to rally around. And we went from 70% supporting neutrality to almost the exact opposite number. All of a sudden we're saying, no, now we have to go and get Japan.
Yeah, it's interesting that, a lot of people think that Pearl Harbor was allowed to happen. It was a major intelligence failure, just like 9/11. But a lot of people speculate that it was allowed to happen to enter the war with Japan. If you think the United States was prepared to lose the amount of naval vessels that they lost, that is an insane idea. I'm just letting you know it's insane. For the amount of Beechcraft and fighter aircraft and the Corsairs that they lost, from the amount of destroyers that they lost. I mean, they got by with the skin of their teeth. If the fleet wasn't out from the aircraft carriers, the United States, we'd be speaking Japanese right now. So I don't think people understand letting that happen. Do I believe there was intelligence failures? Yes. Yes. Do you guys keep hearing that? You hear that at all? Nope.
No.
Okay, I'm getting some feedback in my headphones. Here's a comment that was made that I wanted to read. Sugar. Hold on one second. Matt, what your family did after lets you know Hitler was gone. Sorry. He would never did himself, wife and all his kids. If anything, we would have fled with Adolf. What your family did after lets you know Hitler was gone. I don't understand what that means. Melanie, I don't understand. Hitler, what a lot of people don't understand, real quick. You don't understand what 24 hours a day of methamphetamine use. Hitler was essentially would get anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes a day of sleep. He was taking methamphetamine at a high level. He was injecting methamphetamines. They were making Hitler cocktails to keep him awake, keep him lucid. And this guy was under the constant threat of death by his own people.
Joe Biden treatment.
Right. Yeah. But worse. But this is what they did with the Blitzkrieg. A lot of people go, well, how did they go ahead and go from southern France to northern France in a 72-hour period? It is the Blitzkrieg that took place from these Panzer tanks and the German mechanized infantry and their mobile division was they were going through it like 40 miles an hour. And they would just literally leave a unit or two on each village, and they just caravan. Just the logistical nightmare of leapfrogging from a refuel standpoint was incredible. I mean, the Russians who can't move a bowel movement. I mean, this is why Russia failed in Ukraine. This is why they failed in World War II. Is logistically they can't.
Logistics, yeah.
Just mobility sucks for their mechanized divisions. But the Germans were incredible. And they would just hop and they would leave these little Panzer units and these track vehicles with freaking, machine guns on them and two-man groups. And they would set up barbed wire and set up concertina wire and shut off these villages and take them all over. And they would round up the freaking, the local constable and they'd kill them. And they took over France with this massive blitzkrieg. Well, all of those guys were cranked out of their head on methamphetamines. I mean, I'm serious. I'm talking about like every troop was supplied as like a K ration meth. So you can't, the Hitler of loyal to his family and loved his kids and all this other stuff. You can say all that, but once you've been shooting up methamphetamines and all sorts of barbiturates and all of the other things with a lack of sleep, there was a level of psychosis going on. And gassing 11 million and burning 11 million people also is a little fucking crazy too. So to sit here and say that Hitler was, he had a moment of reflection and wouldn't off himself in a cowardly way, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know the man, but he doesn't strike me as a person with high moral fiber. I could be wrong. Moving on, folks. I've never seen this. It's 8:15. We haven't had a single donation.
Really?
The Dumb
oh
Show.
My gosh!
I've never seen it. I have never seen that in my life. Not one. So either we're really interesting tonight, which explains by the numbers, because we've got 300 plus on in the whole network, and that's great. We love that, but we got to keep the lights on. So, folks, if you haven't had a chance, thedumbshow.com/donate. We'll be right back after this.
The Dumb Show is built on real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and fearless. Big tech didn't like that. Facebook pulled our funding, tried to shut us down. But for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time. And we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving to feel like a burden. We want it to feel good. So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation. We appreciate you more than words can say.
Yeah, it could be a coordinated April Fool's joke,
Oh.
You guys, but I don't know how you guys would get that. It's my network. I don't know how you would supposedly get that past me. But if this is April Fool's, it's not funny because these shows cost money, folks. They're not cheap. Okay, no. So here we go. Do you remember Reginald Denny? Does that name sound familiar to you? Okay.
No.
What if I give you some hints? Who that? What if I give you some hints?
Reginald. What's his name?
Reginald.
No,
Denny.
I'm going to look it up now.
No, but you can't. Let me give you some hints, and you'll get it. Why can't you have any fun with me? All right. So, why can't we all just get along? Don't look it up, dude. Why can't we all just get along? Listen to what I just said. Why can't we all just get along? It's a clue. Okay, that doesn't help you. All right.
No, that doesn't help me.
How about PCP?
Like the drug?
Yeah.
No.
Angel dust, PCP. Okay. What about
from Beverly Hills Cop?
You're getting Cop. You're getting close. What about Beatdown? What about VHS camera?
Was this the guy that leaned on shit? What the hell was his name? That was Derek Chauvin, right?
Yeah. Oh no. This is before that. Wait, but very similar situation, but 40 years before.
Oh wait, are you talking
not 40?
Rodney King?
Yeah, Reginald Denny was the guy driving the truck that took the brick to the head from the rioters. Do you remember that?
Oh, no kidding. Oh no, I didn't know that.
It's been a while. So here's the video, and I want to show this to you for a reason. And this isn't. So just, hey, there we go. Hey there, Joanne. Thanks, Joanne. That'll get us seal open. That'll get us a nice cup of coffee. Here's a start. You're darn right. Thank you, Joanne. We love you.
Thank you.
All right. Here is the video. There is a little bit of violence in this and a little bit of blood, so hang with me.
We were able to convince the news director that I worked for to go ahead and get us on the air so we can warn people about what was happening at Florence, Normandy.
And there's no police presence down here. Then came the infamous beating of truck driver Reginald Denny.
Within seconds, his door was ripped open. Mr. Denny was pulled from the vehicle, and he was beaten. He was kicked.
A brick was thrown at his head. He had serious injuries. All that 30 years ago.
We were able to convince.
All right. So I want to talk about this because it is relevant to today. Aaron, Just in Time. Very clever. What a name. Just in Time. I like that. Okay. So 9/11 was an intelligence failure. Give me a break. 800 engineers agree it was a controlled demolition. Okay.
What?
That's fine. That's fine. And I can also show you 1,200 scientists that believe that tying a daisy and an elephant off of a cliff is theoretically possible with applied physics. But that doesn't mean it's true, right? So anytime you want to come on the show, Aaron, we're not going to do this for like here. You want to call in? The phone number is right there, 804-212-2208. I'm more than happy to have this conversation with you. In fact, I would love to talk about controlled demolition. I would love to do that. I would love to talk about the size and scope of what that looks like. I would love for you to talk to me about your evidence and I would be more than acquiesced to your request to have a conversation. But I'm going to read your last comment here, and see what maybe your emotions won't get the best of you, and you're actually going to give me some fact. So what? 9/11 in Pearl Harbor was an inside job? Saying, I can't believe anyone would allow that. That doesn't make it true either. The war rats needed the U.S. in the war, and it completely revolutionized the U.S. economy. OPS, you will hear over the next couple months that Hitler escaped Germany and lived another 20 years in Argentina, along with dozens of officers. But it's almost like you didn't watch the first hour of the show where we covered that entire premise.
I literally sat there and said, I'm very dubious about all of that, and I would like to see more evidence to either support or, like, you didn't hear that part of it, dude?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, brother, is it is an intelligence failure. But do you also understand how important the United States Navy was to the United States at the time? And the reason why is, if you look at our military force in World War II, we actually had one of the smallest militaries 5 years earlier out of any major developed country. The United States military was infinitesimal. And with the buildup of World War II and the speed of our productivity and textiles, changing our automobile plants, changing our textile and plastic factories, starting to be able to build planes and tanks at a faster, rapid clip than the Germans, where they were outbuilding us through a 3-to-1 ratio, and the Japanese were outbuilding us about a 2-to-1 ratio because of their lack of petroleum and oil because of the embargo. The United States started making things at a 10-to-1 ratio within 3 years. I don't know if you understand the magnitude of that. Yes, we've already admitted openly that the United States benefited from World War II financially, and it propelled us into one of the strongest military nations in the world. Nobody said that. That wasn't true. But for you to go ahead and apply some grandiose conspiracy that the United States Navy allowed a carrier group with over 280 planes to bomb Pearl Harbor and to destroy a third of our naval fleet, which ultimately would completely lose the South Pacific for us, it's just a ridiculous notion. And the reason why is you don't have any evidence or proof, because I will absolutely just run circles around you on Pearl Harbor anytime you want, World War II, but you happen to pick two topics that I will frickin' just bleed you dry if you come into this chat. And one of them happens to be...
To say nothing of the fact that we were both in the Navy, both ISs, both intelligence analysts in the Navy, and, we've both studied this. This is one of those topics in the Navy when you go through the school that they actually tell you, hey, look, this is why you're important. Oh, by the way.
So saying that it's an intelligence failure is a pretty big step for two intelligence specialists. But the problem that you have on all of this is that all I've got to do is pull one thread on your story. And you can go ahead and talk to me about Building 7. You can go ahead and talk to me about the Twin Towers. You can talk to me about JP5 jet fuel. You can tell me about its burning properties, its overall burn time. You can tell me about everything you want, top to bottom. You can tell me about that the molten equivalency of hot welding and God, what's that? Plasma cutters were essentially is what would it take to at the micron level that some of the metal was in a circular pattern. In order for that to happen, it had to be an intense 1800 degree flame from a welder. But you can do all of those things, and you can tell me all the stories you want that Building 7 was a controlled demolition and all that. But what you can't do is tie it all together. And the reason why is because you can't disprove what the actual story is. It's not like the Kennedy assassination where you know for a fact there were 4 rounds fired. Therefore, there's a conspiracy. You can't say MK Ultra wasn't real because we actually have documented proof that it was. So it's okay for you to speculate, but when you sit here and say, I know, or somehow I am missing something because I don't agree with your assessment of what took place, is kind of a ridiculous notion. You know what I'm saying? That's all. And I'll leave it at there. And obviously you left the chat because you're not calling in, because I have a feeling that you listened to what we said and was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to go ahead and combat these two. And that's okay because most people can't. That's why I don't call in. Reginald Denny is the topic. And this is why the comment is full speed ahead, because even though this is years, decades from the Reginald Denny situation, Leroy, I guarantee every single trucker remembers that in a riot, you don't stop your vehicle. Here's the video. You keep stealing DVD players, Toretto, and drivers are going to take things into their own hands. Dude, shoot them. Shoot them.
I honestly would, maybe not. So there's a lot of liability that goes along with having guns in the cab like that. But I would not be opposed to, like, I'd love to see, like, an actual mechanism that sprays like bear spray. I think that would be fine. Like in a fine mitt, just like immobilize everyone around you for 30 feet and then just drive your happy ass on.
Do you remember in Demolition Man where like the car had the it popped out and it did and it zapped the guy and it knocked him out and maybe we could put those on the car. Thank you, Bobby. 51. The boys are back. Lots of laughs. Love you all. Thank you, Bobby. But those little spinny little dude. You have no right to be in the road. What you're doing is illegal. Whether you like that or not, I am all for running over people because this isn't a peaceful protest. This is a lynching. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. At that point, right, in most self-defense cases, like you pull a gun on somebody who's robbing you, right? The first thing that they're going to ask you, some attorney is going to say, did you feel like your life was in danger? Right?
Yeah, I did.
And now from that truck driver's perspective, if he's locked up in the truck and people are banging on it with bats and everything else, then my life is in danger. Guess what? If I got to run a bitch over, sorry.
I just, listen, I
get it.
I call it the Reginald Denny clause. If I was a prosecutor, I'd be like, look at this. This is in every training video for truck drivers, what not to do. Do not stop. Do not get out of the vehicle. That's terrifying. I mean, I'm sorry. You don't have enough rounds, even if you're carrying, to take out that many people. But let's be honest. All it would take is one. So, I understand what we can think. It's all about what you can and can't do in the world. You can't run everybody over and kill them.
Right.
But you can at least say, I am now going to step on the gas, and anybody who's in my way has been forewarned, and go. That's what he did. And he didn't barrel it down. And the thing is that they're going to arrest that guy. I just don't understand where we are as a world today, as a society today, because lawlessness is anarchy. And if that's what people want, they haven't watched Mad Max enough. Maybe we need to watch that shit and get people to see it. Tuner says, Matt, so nice you mentioned the increase in U.S. military due to the factory switchovers. Would you think that the death of North American manufacturing and the rise of foreign manufacturing is an attempt or a risk of the future military? Understand that there are more specific military contractors now than before, but will they sell out to the highest bidder? Here's the thing, is most of the mechanics in a Spitty, because we were making Spitfires for the English. We were making the A4 for us, and multiple planes for us. And whether it was the Grumman F4, the Wildcat, the Corsair, whatever it was, is that we would make several different iterations of American planes, but most of the complexities of these were not extensive. Canopies, engine, propeller, avionics, hydraulics, tubing, stuff like that. Most of it was plastics, rubber, and millwork. And then obviously the outer fabric of the plane itself and tires and everything else. very different than the military technology today. And we have so many, like, we spread it out so much as far as where we get, bless you, Bubba, where we get our parts and manufacturing, that, and the United States military, this is the way we work now. We don't buy things by the single. We buy things by the boatload. So when we have a ball bearing for a certain tank, we've got a couple million of them sitting on the side for repair and everything else. Now, does that mean that the United States military is fantastic at getting those parts to the bases and getting them out into forward operating outside the wire? No, but the U.S. learned from World War II to make things in redundancy and not buy things in the tens, but buy them in the hundreds of thousands. That's the best answer I can give you.
I will, if I can add something to that. I think what a lot of Americans think, and rightfully so, is that there has been this over dependency on foreign manufacturing in terms of things that we use, like IC chips, or bauxite for aluminum, or steel for ball bearings, like what Matt is talking about. But because of the way China has been going, specifically over the last 5-6 years, even longer than that, they've seen such a reduction in manufacturing, and what we have seen is this dramatic ramp up in terms of American production. And so now we're starting to really put money in and resources into American manufacturing of IC chips. There's a giant plant that's going into the Columbus, Ohio area, in terms of other much smaller things that require like a smaller supply chain, right? Like a cell phone. I don't know if anybody knows this, but like what goes into a cell phone like this is like somewhere between like 700 to 1,500 different steps of supply chain. So the more simple you can get that, the easier it is to manage that portion of the chain.
The lower the cost.
And the lower the cost, yeah.
Because I signed an NDA that expired. So I can tell you now how much an iPhone costs to make.
Excuse me. How much?
The current ones, or the old ones before they broke $1,000? So the old ones before they broke $1,000 would be like the i11, the 10. Those are about $286 a piece, and they retailed for $699, $799, and $899. The new ones that are $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, those are about $300, about $100 more.
Damn.
So Apple makes like 70 points of margin on their phones.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump was right.
Yeah, dude. Apple, dude, their Mac computers, even though they're amazing. And listen, I've got 3 Macs right here. They're the greatest computer, in my opinion, for what I do. They're amazing. But this Mac is a $5,000 Mac, and it's probably $700-800 to make. The display is the most expensive part, the 32-inch display. So anyway, the point is that when Leroy says it takes 700 to 1,000 passes in the supply chain from just the motherboard, from the speakers to the wiring, to the butyl rubber inside, to the Gorilla Glass, to the transistors, to the screen, to the buttons, to the whatever, all of that they get for pennies on the dollar. And that's the way it works. Keith Baker, great show as usual, $51.99. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, let's rock and roll. Do you know what the filibuster is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you give me a high level of what are you running for storage and memory? I'm running 1 terabyte onboard, and then I've got a 20 terabyte server that I own, which is it's somewhere. I'm not going to say anything else. So I've got about 22 terabytes of storage for all my stuff. This is 128. I think I'm running 128 on my RAM. This is an i9 quad core. And then I've got an M3 Mac as well, which is I think 32 gigs of RAM, and that's 1 terabyte on board. and that's silicone, and that's a smoker. and then I've got another one which is 64 gig RAM, which is an i7 quad core, 3200. I don't remember the graphics, but all of them are top of the line iMacs. I mean, but you got to remember, I got all that shit at like 75% off. So, like, I've got this Mac I'm running this whole show on is 10 years old. That's how good Macs are. It's 10 fucking years old, and it runs 3 HDMI cameras, syncs all the lights in the house, runs 27 windows, multiple videos, streams all of this to 7 different channels, processes 4K, 356 audio, and this is a 10-year-old Mac. They're amazing. Okay. Tell them about a filibuster, because a lot of people don't understand what it is. They're like, what's a filibuster? I don't understand.
So filibuster is one of those, it's one of the tools that Senate can use to give a speech of such length that the speech goes on for like fucking ever. And the whole idea behind it is that you give the speech that goes on so long that people end up leaving for the day. And at the end of the day, it's a tool to help prevent a decision or a vote.
Yeah. And listen, real quick, somebody says, am I happy that a lot of the United States is coming? Yeah. Chama says, I'm jealous. You shouldn't be jealous. It's a great system. You have a 12-core Intel Gen. Intel-based Macs are good, but the silicone-based Macs are 10 times better, because I'm not dependent on RAM anymore. So just go look up silicone and how it works, because it is an ungodly. I explained it to people before, but Macs are great. You know what? They're great. Okay, so fantastic. That's exactly what it is. It's basically to delay a vote, and the longest filibuster, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was like 67
Civil
days.
rights, right?
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I think it probably was civil rights, but how many
Democrat
days?
civil rights. Yeah.
47 days, some shit like that. And then, but see, the way that the way that the filibuster used to work is that you actually had to put some sweat into it. And you could stand up there for as long as you want, but there were no bathroom breaks. You could not sit down. You had to speak constantly. You could not get a drink of water, or you could have water. That was the one thing you could have. And if you did any of those things, and broke quorum, you would sit down. You have to sit down. And
so it wasn't uncommon for like people to get a catheter, right? Literally, just so that they could stand up there that much longer, and they could go for like ever without having to take a pee break.
Yeah, and there's a level of respect that I have. You can't lean on the podium. You have to stand up on street. You can put your hand, but you can't lean on it. So there's decorum and rules, and this was the filibuster. Now the filibuster is this lazy piece of crap where they just keep reclaiming the vote, stalling the vote, and essentially saying you don't have 60, and if you don't have 60, you can't pass legislation. This is the filibuster. And Harry Reid reinstituted, I want to say it was 2013, 2014, maybe it was 12. But Harry Reid reinstated the filibuster and brought it back. And the Democrats are now wanting to remove it because ultimately it creates a stagnant government. But the filibuster used to be something where you had to earn it. And guys would get up there for 7 hours and read National Geographic aloud, at 3 a.m. They would do things that were just incredible. And I at least respected that. And I have to give Cory Booker respect for this. To be up there 24 hours. Listen, I've done a lot of things for 24 hours. And when you're in the military, there's times where you do watches for 24 hours. You're training with people where you're up for 24 hours. Sleep deprivation is a real thing, and truck drivers understand it, not so much anymore with the logs that they have to do. But Leroy can tell you that there's some 24-hour watches where you're up the entire time. And there's 36-hour watches. There's longest watch you've ever had, I don't know what it would be, but I guarantee it was more than 24 hours. I know I pushed close to 48 to 52 hours where I maybe hot racked for 30 minutes. And there's guys out there that do it for days. I mean, Leroy, what's your longest watch?
23 hours.
Yeah, so that's a long watch. Now, remember,
That was when stuff was going on, though.
Yeah, but what was your sleep pattern like after that? What, 2-3 hours of sleep and back at it, right? Or did you actually get full time off?
No, I think at that time I got 6 hours off.
Okay. So most standard watches are 12 on, 12 off. Yeah. But going to a 24 is not a regular. But I've been on a 24 and a 24 back to back with probably, like I said, about a 30-minute hot rack once or twice. And a lot of that's voluntary. There were times my chief would say, get the fuck out of here and I don't want to see you again. But there are times when you take that personal ownership with the team and the camaraderie. So I got to give it to Booker for this. He's a blowhard. I don't care what he says. I don't give a shit. But for 24 hours to stand on your feet and to do what he's doing has really broken him. And I got to respect what he said as far as the pain struggle.
But I thought they were trying to get rid of the filibuster. Now they want it?
Yeah, well, isn't that funny? Now he's
I'm
losing
kind
it,
of
dude.
torn here. What's going on? Right?
Oh, well, just wait. He's crazy-eyed. You could tell that he's sleep deprived. He's getting punch drunk. And you can tell the signs. Look at his eyes. I mean, homeboy probably went down to the local dime bag and said, hey, man, can I get some meth? Give me a little of that Blue Sky from Walter White. Let's listen.
Hey, who's got a Red Bull? Yeah.
That's right.
Call to the conscience of this nation to say, I will not stand for another American to lose their health care for a billionaire. I will not stand for another veteran who's dedicated to stopping the suicide of other veterans to lose their job. I won't stand for the air quality in my community to be made worse because they're letting polluters pollute more. I won't stand for the collective assault on the Constitution by a man who even the highest judge in our land, a Republican-appointed judge, said stop threatening and bullying other branches of government. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. But we, the people, are powerful. We are strong. We have changed history. We have bent the arc of the moral universe. And now is that moral moment again. It's a moral moment again. God bless America. We need you now. God bless America. If you love her, if you love your neighbor, if you love this country, show your love. Stop them from doing what they're trying to do for almost 20 hours. We have laid out what they're trying to do, 20 hours. I want to stand more, and I will, but I'm begging people, don't let this be another normal day in America. Please, God, don't let them take Medicaid away from 10, 20, 30, or 40 million Americans who desperately need it. Don't let them do it.
Wow. That's commitment. I you know what? The man's got passion.
Yeah,
he's got a voice. He has got enough motivation to stand up there, speak his mind semi-articulately. I get it. I understand it. I don't necessarily agree with him. But to Matt's point, yeah, I'll applaud that kind of commitment.
I will.
Good
too.
on him.
I will. I mean, I'm sorry. He is full of it, but that doesn't change the fact that standing for 24 hours and talking nonstop is exhausting. I do it for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. We did on election night, 7, 8 hours. It's tiring, and I'm sitting in a chair. My voice can't handle it, and he's crying incessantly. It's not about the content. It's about that takes some moxie. Right. And you're not going to say that Booker's soft now. You're not going to tell me he's soft. A person with that conviction is terrifying. It's just so unfortunate that it's so misplaced. Imagine if he put that much effort into the truth, how effective he would be. Instead of trying to scare people about Medicare and Social Security, you have a message. You're on the national stage. You stood for 24 hours. You could have made real change. You have the pulpit. You have the media's attention. People are watching you. They're probably betting on this with poly market.
Right.
When you're going to stop. But you stood up there and you just espoused bullshit and lies. And that lowers the magnitude of your effort. Because I'm very impressed with your effort. I'm not impressed with the message you're sending. And why don't you just call out the truth and call out the Democratic Party, call out the Republican Party, call out the inequities on both sides, and finally stand up and say, we have to change in this country And it starts with us looking at ourselves because we are to blame. We are responsible. We are on the fiscal cliff because of our ineptitude as leaders. But they don't do that. Mel Lowe for Hitler Research, LOL, 103.48. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you
that
so
helps,
much, Mel.
Helps tremendously, Mel. Thank you. You're back with a bang. She's been out for about a week. And trust me, donations were a little tough too. Bobby's been helping. Everyone's been helping. JD's been helping. Everyone's been pitching in. Paul's been pitching in. But it's nice to have her back. Your thoughts on this, buddy?
About Corey. Matt said a long time ago, and I'm talking like 2 years ago, on one of the shows that at some point there wasn't a Republican alive who wouldn't have taken Nancy Pelosi in our corner.
Yeah.
Because she was a pit viper. Okay. For anybody who remembers that show, this is the same thing. This is a guy who you may not like his message, but damn, if you can't get behind his conviction and say, all right, that's the level of commitment that I want in our corner, I would take that. If Cory Booker would have turned Republican and given that speech, you would have been all over it.
Yeah.
And
we would have been impressed.
Would have too.
Could you not have a filibuster for the other side? I honestly never heard of this until last night when someone said they could listen to me for hours and I should be one. The thing is that a filibuster is usually in direct opposition of the piece of legislation. You don't want to filibuster your own bill. So it's usually, we filibuster too. Everybody filibusters. It's what they do. Honestly, it's a very good policy, and it can create havoc for pieces of legislation and show the resistance of your constituents that you're not for it. And there's nothing wrong with the filibuster. I'm all about the 60 rule. I think major legislation should have 60 people. If we can't agree, get 10 people from the other side to agree, well then I don't care. It's amazing when we have to pass something, how we pass it. When we come together on certain things, like to keep the government open, everyone seems to come together. Well, you know what? We don't disagree on any of those bills, but somehow we come together. Government is designed to be a co-op. Yeah, and slow. And change is slow. And it's designed this way on purpose.
Yep.
Where the problem is the corruption and the money and the scandals and the absolute sleaze in that town, which is not designed. There's a lot of changes that need to happen in the United States government, and I hope that Donald Trump continues to do so, because we need a good 12 years to change things. It's not going to be in one term, and if you think it is, you're just not paying attention. We'll be right back, folks. 217.46 out of 300. Got some news also. Saturday is my birthday. We'll be celebrating it Friday. Olivia will not. JD, 1254, another great show. JD, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, JD.
Olivia, I hope Mark's doing okay. Olivia is not going to let me not celebrate. I tried to get away with it and not talk about it on Friday, but Friday we'll be celebrating my birthday. And how we're going to do that is to do a show, and it's not going to really change anything. So we'll see you on Friday. If you want to donate, you know where to go to. Listen to this real quick.
Join Wimkin.com, the social media platform built for free speech and true connection. No censorship, no algorithms controlling your feed, just genuine conversations and a commitment to protecting your rights. Sign up today at Wimkin.com and take back your voice. Tell them Matt and the Dumb Show sent you.
9 million people over on Wimkin. It is a free speech network. It was actually targeted by the J6 committee. Jason Shepard is the CEO, good friend of the show, and he is our gold sponsor. And the reason why is because he, for 2 years, tried to get me to join Wimkin, and I wouldn't. I believe in working slow on relationships. Anyone will tell you that. Damani Felder and I, and his brother Trey came on, and it took us almost 2 years to become good friends. Barry Morgenstein was a couple months of courting to finally decide to go do photographs. I don't rush into relationships. LEEROY fairly fast, but it's because we hit it off so quick. But I tend to be very selective, and Wimkin would not release the associates, or excuse me, the users on Wimkin. Hold on a second, please.
Thank you, Jesus, who says the Republicans are lazy and quick to give in the House.
They
Well,
are.
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. It's not Jesus. Yes, it's Jesus. Jesus, I happen to agree with you. I think Republicans can be very lazy. I've been very impressed with them over the last 3 months on the things that they've got done. 4 months since Trump we've been standing together. Anyway, my point is this: Wimkin is 9 million strong. January 6th committee tried to force Jason to hand over the user's personal information and phone numbers, and he refused. They canceled all of his email. They took and seized his funds. They closed his accounts, and they have constantly harassed him, and they don't stop. And you can show your support by going over there. Create a username, a profile pic, sign up, put your email in there. In 24 hours, your account will be approved, and go ahead and put... I did tell him it was Jesus. I fixed it. He did say Jesus, and 3 seconds after it, I said Jesus. Thank you, honey.
I said Jesus and Jesus.
Yeah, but she didn't like that. So she thought it was sacrilegious and you're going to go to hell now. She didn't say that. So anyway, the point is, go over to wimkin.com and join and go over there. You can catch us there every single day and every single night. And we always are on Wimkin. It's a great place. Are you familiar with the girl from Juno?
Yes. Ellen Page. Elliot Page. Yep. Right?
It's Elliot Page is what she prefers to be called. And
right.
Let me just give you a quick history. Ellen Page, about 2 years ago, decided to go ahead and transition into a man, and everyone had to pay for it. They had a great show called The Umbrella Academy on Netflix. It was ridiculously good, and she was one of the leads. And she was straight in that. And then in the second season, she had a lesbian affair and completely trashed men. I mean, just men hating. And in the third season, she's transgender. And I'm just like, okay. I don't appreciate.
She went from hating men to becoming one?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. That's fair.
So now, like Dylan Mulvaney does this, and I call out Dylan Mulvaney, that you are not the judge and jury of what a woman is. And because you put on a dress or because that's not the way women are. Just like gay guys. Like, I've known some of the toughest guys in my military career. And when they were straight, they talk like you and me. But the moment they come out of the closet, all of a sudden they're like, hi, oh my God, like, no way. And I'm like, when did you start talking like that, dude? No offense. I understand you're out of the closet. And have you always talked like that? Which one was fake? You talking like a GI bro or you being gay? And this is the same thing. This is their critique on men. And this is Ellen Page's critique on how men act. And I'll be honest with you, it made me a little sick. It made me a little sick. Here it is. Watch this.
Goodness, what has brought me the most joy? The most joy. It's, getting out of the shower and the towels around your waist and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, there I am.
No. I'm like, holy shit, I need to run more and do a few more sit-ups because I'm naked fat.
I'm not having all these little...
Then the towel drops and I'm like, holy crap, now I know where all the weight's going.
Moments that used to be just being in a t-shirt. It's being able to touch my chest and
okay, and
feel comfortable in my body for probably the first time.
I touch my chest and I feel that way all the time because my pecs are getting huge.
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
I grab my titty and I'm like,
solid B cup. Yeah, I get it.
That's a rock. Leroy, is that what a man does? Because I'm confused.
No. What she's describing is her appeal to the idea of looking like a man. She is apparently pleased with her level of cosmetic surgery to appear like a man. But at the end of the day, she doesn't have a prostate, right? Her every cell in her DNA is going to scream woman. Did she get her pelvis changed? I don't know. And the fact of the matter is, there's even differences in the physical structure of the brain between men and women. Apparently, Dr. Deborah So tells everyone that men have a greater number of gray connections that run from front to back between both hemispheres, whereas women apparently have a greater number of neurologic connections between the hemispheres left to right. And so when I hear Elliot Page, whatever the hell, talk about becoming a man, no offense, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not one. You got cosmetic surgery to look like one, but it's not the same as putting on a suit.
Amy Stancombe says there is good naked and there is bad naked. I'm not doing too bad. I'm okay. I'm doing fine. Yeah. There was a time where I'd get out of the shower and I'd be like, ugh. Yeah, I don't do that anymore. So I feel pretty
awesome
good.
Naked. And when I say awesome, I mean big.
Yeah, I don't care because my wife has never asked for a refund. No, I don't like to touch my chest and feel my body and go, oh, I feel so good about being me. Let me tell you what a man does. Men can be insecure. Men can second guess themselves. Men can be overly aggressive. Men can be ultra sensitive. But most of those things are done in private and usually within the confines of their own noodle. And they don't necessarily share it with the rest of the world. And they certainly don't share it that way with a friend. Like, I can't imagine me sitting with Leroy, us smoking a cigar and having a whiskey. I'm like, dude, you know what? I just touched my chest yesterday and I was so happy. No, I don't think we would do that. I just
so sensitive.
I just want to dance, bro. I want to dance. I just want to do Footloose. I want to dance and get in my Volkswagen and punch the clutch with my beer and go swing around and smoke a cigarette in a farmhouse and just dance.
Yeah, I get it.
Listen, it's not that you have to be macho. It's not that you have to spit and chew tobacco and beat up your wife to be a man.
Right.
A man is not a person who is absent from masculinity. And that's the best way I can describe Ellen, is that she's not masculine in any way. And even if she has a fake Adam's apple installed, you're always going to be a woman. Mm-hmm. And we'll call you Elliot and I'll say he, whatever, out of respect. But it's not because I believe what I'm saying. And the problem with it is that they want acceptance so bad because they can't accept who they are. And I can tell you with no equivocation, with everything in my heart and soul, and this is not being transphobic, I will never accept you as a man. Because you're not.
Right.
And unless you can pop. No, it's just, it's like, I'll treat you with respect, but I'll never believe it. I'll never believe it. And even if I tell you I believe it, even the people who tell you that they believe you're a man, they don't really believe it. Your most staunch supporters who go, yeah, you go, Elliot, they don't believe it. They're pretending. So you want people to lie to you without knowing it. And that to me, that is delusion. You want to have people lie to you and you are pretending that you don't know it. That is the epitome of delusion. Put a bow on this for us, buddy.
While I'm going to make sure this goes first. I'm sending you a file real quick, and it's pertinent to the discussion at hand. Everyone knows that one of my favorite dudes is Jordan Peterson. And the clip that I just sent, and I'm hoping it goes through, he talks a little bit about where the confusion happens between the left and what they consider to be gender or gender identity versus personality.
Binary. Binary for.
Yep, I'm trying.
Logical set.
Sorry, I'm getting to it.
Binary for like 100 million years, longer than that. Temperament is not binary. Temperament or
Someone's got to tell Jordan to stop wearing the brown suit. I'm just saying.
I love that suit, though.
No, you got to stop wearing the brown suit. That's just.
I love that one.
It's a little.
But I like the one
little,
that he has. He's got one that has lobsters on it too, and that
yeah,
was
I've
in
seen
reference to like his first book, and I actually like that one more.
Yeah, here we go.
logical sex. Binary. It's been binary for like 100 million years, longer than that. Temperament is not binary. Temperament or personality.
So it's gender. Temperament is gender?
Well, gender is not a good word because it's vague and it isn't measurable.
So do we need it? Why can't we just say temperament? What do we even need the word gender for?
Well, I don't need it. Yeah. But what I would say is that people who talk about the diversity in gender are actually talking about diversity in personality and temperament, but they don't know it. You can have a masculine temperament if you're a woman. Maybe 1 in 10 women have the average temperament of a man. And you can have feminine men temperamentally. And it's not that uncommon because the differences between men and women temperamentally aren't that great. There are masculine girls. There are feminine boys. What are we going to do about that? Carve them up?
Yeah, but
it's spot on.
Yeah, it kind of, because, well, here's my, and I don't want to challenge Jordan Peterson because that's like saying, okay, well, time to talk about the theory of relativity. Let's go ahead and break down Einstein and let's go ahead and call Newton
Right.
an idiot. But my point is that just because you have a masculine woman, there's still no doubt that she's a woman.
Right. That's his point.
No, but that's not what he said.
Well,
he said just because.
Go
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Apologize for him. I don't care.
I think what he's basically trying to say is that there's a confusion on the left right now between actual gender, which is binary, and something called gender identity, which is what the left has just confused with this idea of personality traits. And so that when someone is talking about their personality traits and saying, well, that's a tomboy over there, so that's not really a girl, that's really a boy. No, what you're trying to describe and failing to do so is that is that person's personality traits, not their actual gender. Because their actual gender, those are the goalposts that we have set up in society, right? There is no third option. When you go to gender reassignment surgery, there's only 2 options. There's male and female. There is no third. So those are the goalposts that we all have to aim between, right? Well, what he is saying is that everything in between isn't gender at all. What you're describing is people's personality traits.
Right. And so to continue my thought is that there are times when you could have a emasculated male and an overly masculine female, but there is no confusion that person is a female or that person is a male. That's from a scientific perspective and just from a casual observer perspective. We all know overly emotional men. But I also know that those men have very masculine traits also. When a woman tries to be a man and project her perception of what a man is, it's inaccurate and it's ineffectual because they don't possess the personality traits in order to replicate that with any authenticity. And that goes for men and women both. So my point is, and even if it just enhances Jordan Peterson's point, which I didn't really get what he said because I think we cut the clip too quick, because I think there was a second half to that might have been saying what I'm trying to say, is that XY and XX are physical and scientific traits. Gender is a construct. And we have assigned gender to a binary situation because there's binary sexes. And the gender that you want to be is immaterial to what societal norms are. And when you sit there and say, okay, we're going to make up 64 other genders, and society has to learn them and recognize them, it's not a tenable situation, because getting to binary is a simplistic form as possible. And you are adding complexity to something that's been established that creates even more confusion. So it's antithetical to what you're trying to do. By trying to have people accept you in your simplest form, you're overcomplicating the fucking process.
Right.
If you want to be a female and be called Helen or Elliot, cool. You want to be called he or she, that's fine. But don't get mad at me because your complexity out-processes my simplicity. Right. Because being a binary thinker is not a bad thing in today's society where everyone has an opinion. Sometimes it's okay to say, I don't care. Or sometimes it's okay to say, I'm on the left or I'm on the right. But
right.
That's not what they do. They make this about everything. If they get served wrong in a restaurant, it's because they're trans. If they can't get into school, it's because they're trans. Maybe you're just an asshole.
Right. There's a level of moral kind of posturing that happens when a misgendering situation happens. For example, dude identifies, right? Says that he identifies as a woman, puts on a dress, like gets a wig, like goes and does the thing and then forgets to shave, right? Forgets to shave his legs, right? Maybe he's got giant running back type shoulders, right? Now he goes walking down the street. Now society has already said that if people are wearing a dress and have long hair, right, generally speaking, we would consider that person to be a female or somebody with at least female traits, right? But he hasn't really done a whole lot of like he's missing the boat on some of the other gender stuff, right? If he's got a full-on beard and, you know, if somebody were to walk up to him and say, hey, dude, what's up? Right? That's going to be the person that is looking for that moral outrage. They're looking for a reason to get angry. That's the lady that we've all seen in the 7-Eleven with the gift that says, it's ma'am, you know? And so that's the level of craziness that we're at today. But those goalposts still haven't changed. Like everyone's idea of what a man is solid within them, right? Same thing for a woman. Generally speaking, they can have kids. Generally speaking. And again, they are generalities, right? But what everyone else is like with people who have gender identity issues is that they've tried to muddy up the waters enough.
Right.
So
there it is.
Right.
That it's unclear.
And so you can't be pissed off when people misgender you then.
Now that's your fault. So let's use a real world example. You let's say you're a Christian and you move into a Jewish neighborhood and you've got black hair and brown eyes and black hair, and you've got a propensity of growing facial hair very, very fast. And some guy comes up to you and he goes, "Are you a Jew?" And you're like, "No, I'm a Christian." There's a way to educate people on who you are. So for instance, when I walk into a bank or I walk into Barry Morgenstein's photo shoot and there's models there and I'm in a trucker's hat and tattoos and a t-shirt and, 30-year-old Doc Martens, and they look at me a certain way, do I go, "Hey, screw you, pal. You know how much money I have in the bank? Do you know who I am? Do you know how many fans I have?" Or do I say, "We're here for the shoot. And I'm your subject today. I'm one of the people you're going to be photographing." And they're like, "Oh my God." And then it's my job to educate people on what and who I am. It's not their job to know. Right. So this is the problem with transgender people. They want you to assume they're different. And then when you treat them different, they get upset. Listen to what I just said.
Contradiction, yeah.
You're a fucking quagmire. You want to be treated different. You're treated different, and then you get mad for it. You're like the people in the gym, the woman who wears the freaking, like 2 peanuts and some dental floss on her chest and has a freaking G-string all the way up her ass. And she starts doing freaking Roman deadlifts, and you can see her tonsils from her backside. And she's like, don't look at me.
Don't stare at me. Right.
You want me to. How dare you? Don't look at me.
And they tell us not to objectify women and then dress that way.
You objectify yourself.
For the obvious attention that they're trying to garnish.
You're saying, look at you. You want me to look. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. Listen, it's not... Tuner is probably one of my favorite people because his daughter is transitioning to be a male.
Okay.
And this is what he says. Please, I will talk about this all night. We are processing it as well. Still love our kids for who they are and have told her we support her, but she is still our daughter as long as she is in our house. But I don't want to have her feel we don't care for her mental state, how she feels. And listen, Tuner, that is a distinction you must make.
Right.
It is a distinction you must make. That is your little girl. But if she wants to be called something else, that's fine. But you'll always recognize her because if she decides to change, that level of acceptance to go back will be there. But the thing is she's asking you to change who you are by accepting, not by rejecting who she actually is. And you have to tell her, how can you expect me? You get upset that I don't accept you for who you want to be, and you want me to be something I can't be. So why can't you give me the same considerations? Brian McGuire, 1166, it may be April, but we are not fools. Thank you. Do you get my point? It's full of contradictions.
It is.
And I'm not saying, want you to
and that's the thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't love these people. They absolutely deserve love. And they deserve compassion, and they deserve guidance, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, if Ellen Page is if that's what it takes for that person to be happy, great.
Okay.
But
sorry, I got to address something.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Whoa, she's not transitioning. She feels that way. Now we have talks. Okay, sorry.
Oh,
I didn't know. But either way, okay, she feels that way. Fine. Either way, even if she's transitioning, she's still going to feel that way. And no matter how much transitioning or how much changing, she is going to still be she. And the hard part for me is that if my daughter came up to me and said she was trans, okay, great. But you're not a guy. And just like if she told me, Dad, I'm going to be an astronaut today. You're not, but that's okay. Dad, I'm going to be a psychologist. Okay, but you're not. So I'm not going to call you doctor. Okay?
Right.
Same thing. So a lot of people say, well, if you were in this situation, it would be different. Well, I'll tell you what. We got some very interesting stuff that happened with our kids that we were wondering where they would fall. And we never, ever judged her. You know what I said? Okay, now's not the time. I might be interested in women. That sounds great, but we're not having that conversation because you can't date till you're 16. I might be interested in this boy. That's great, but I don't care because you're not going to have a relationship till you're 16. I just treated it exactly the same as I would treat anything else because in the end, they can't decide what they want for breakfast. And you think they're going to stick to this decision? They're kids.
Right.
They're like the weather.
I'll tell you what. I have a friend of mine at work. A woman. She's a little bit younger. And I'm not going to say names, but she's an amazing person. And she's a registered nurse, like former registered nurse, and just this amazing young lady. She has a older brother who and she was very emotional when she told me this story because we got on the subject of it, and she and I very much, her with this nursing background, like you can imagine where this is going because we kind of agreed on a lot of things. She goes, my brother first came out to my parents, when he was like, whatever it was, 20. And since then, like 4 years later, he has gone on to full transition. So he has gone through the surgeries and everything else. Okay. Now, does that person, is it an actual woman? No. You have gotten surgery to look like a woman. And if you can rock the dresses and the wig and get booby implants, great. I'm all for it. But at some point when that person is dating, they're probably going to have to let their partner know that, hey, by the way, if your long-term game plan was to have kids, sorry.
Yeah, right.
Let
me ask you a question. I have a pacemaker in my back, which essentially sends electronic pulses up my spine. I've got metal titanium rods or pins in my knees, in my pelvis, in my lower spine, 3-level fusion, in my neck, and in my shoulder. Am I a robot or a cyborg? No.
You identify that way?
Right. See? So if just because you have a surgery to remove something or put something on, it doesn't mean I'm now a robot. I'm still a human being. I still have functioning heart, liver, lungs, brain, eyes, nervous system, epidermis, organs, central nervous system. And just because I have a pacemaker, my dad has one in his heart, doesn't make him a robot. And just because you lop off your dick doesn't mean you're a woman.
Exactly.
Okay. That's it. And you can pretend, but that doesn't make it true. Folks, we are close to goal, but not that close to goal. It is 246.66, 3 sixes. That ain't good. That ain't pretty. We're hoping to hit it. 2 more topics, folks. Here we go.
The Dumb Show is built on real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and fearless. Big Tech didn't like that. Facebook pulled our funding, tried to shut us down. But for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time. And we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving to feel like a burden. We want it to feel good. So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation, we appreciate you more than words can say.
All right. So, you can go to thedumbshow.com/donate. We've got about 12 minutes left before we're out of here. And we're hoping to hit our goal. And we have hit it well over a year now when we were doing $100 a night or $50 a night. And you guys are amazing and always come through for us. I've had over $1 million and a half dollars worth of surgeries. Yeah. My fusion was up there. And my first initial recovery was well over $1 million. Of course, I didn't pay for that. Military paid for the most of it. But my spinal fusion, I had to pay for that with insurance. And that set us back a pretty penny. It was a lot of money. Anyway, it's expensive. And then the rehab and everything else and was all a waste. And it was up to me to get it. USAID, federal judge says USAID, no more. And guess what? It isn't. And this guy, Poindexter, decided to go ahead and make a consolation video in regards to him being fired to Donald Trump, as if Donald Trump's going to listen to this guy. Here it is. Tell me what you think, Leroy.
Help work with him and his administration. That's what federal workers do. However, on January 20th, when he first signed that foreign aid freeze, that's when we knew something was wrong. We were having programs cut. We didn't know what to do. Our leadership was, quite frankly, decapitated. So his foreign aid freeze was a clear indication that he not only wants to just completely dismantle USAID, he wants to prevent America from being a superpower. USAID helps make sure that those who are at the forefront of some of the world's most toughest challenges, civil wars, famine, that we're supporting them and that we are stabilizing different regions. One of the things I deeply believe in is that we're all born with a debt to society. And I think this is like something I fundamentally believe to my core. And that I think is something that everybody that goes into federal service really fights for. Nobody in federal service wants to make your life harder. They are always doing their best to make sure that you get what you need. The postal worker, the police officer, the firefighter, the medic, right? All of those emergency services are generally funded by the federal government to help you out in times of need. Food stamps, SNAP benefits, the Educational Head Start program at the Department of Education, right? That's saying if you need help, the American government will give it to you. Mm-hmm. And all that's been cut.
Thank God.
Well, wait a second. This guy was from USAID. He wasn't from SNAP. He wasn't from the welfare office or from the post office. He was talking specifically from the perspective of USAID, which is really just a great way of saying, and he described it, we stabilize other regions of the world by giving away your tax money. We take care of these people over here, this pocket, who we think need it with your tax money. That's how we should all be hearing that.
Wonder why he got fired. I got nothing else to add to it. Other than you might want to keep that jacket because it's going to be worth a shit ton of money on eBay. Remember how when people used to, have FBI jackets and CIA and DEA jackets, and you can't sell those on eBay anymore. You could at one point, but that USAID can probably go for at least, I don't know, in a bid, maybe $24.32. Paul Rivera, 2110. Wish I could hit for us. Great show, brothers. No, man, you guys are amazing. Paul, you always help us out. Paul. Thank you so much. That gets us a little closer. Man. Figured I'd show it to you, buddy, because why do you think Donald Trump wants your nasty ass opinion? You got fired for a reason, dude. Your department was, listen, everyone knows, everyone who served overseas and deployed knows what USAID was used for, and a lot of it. And it was a way to justify CIA budget. And if you're going to sit here and pretend that that's not true, then you have done no research on USAID. It was literally investment in foreign governments. That was it. And yes, it did other things, but other departments can do those things. It's no more. It's gone. C'est la vie. Goodbye. Azure. Bonjour.
Diggy ciao.
Sayonara. What is Carrie Eluz? I always forget. He's like
Germany would be
sayonara is Japan.
Oh, that's Japanese, yeah.
I just said that. Japan.
Oh, choose. Yeah, choose. In German it would be choose.
Choose. Sayonara, choose. Das Gavanya. That's thank you. Yeah. Russian. I don't remember my Russian.
New Pauluski.
Get it, you Pauluski. Thinks you're some kind of cowboy. Thinks you're some kind of cowboy. Jack Ryan didn't speak Russian. I don't know why they ruined the books.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good books though. Astronauts take flight, folks. We are $30 some odd, $33 away. Let's hit it. Here you go. We're going to talk about the astronauts, their first interview on Fox, and what they came back with, and finally letting it out about the scandal of being stuck up there for a year. Here it is.
What would you like to say to President Trump and Elon Musk? I respect you. I trust you. You've given me no reason not to trust you, either one of them. What they say, I can't say what they say. I haven't lived that. But I have no reason not to believe anything they say because they've earned my trust. And for that, I am grateful that our national leaders actually are coming in and taking part in our human spaceflight program, which we see is hugely important global significance, and they take an active role. And based on the past and what we see now, with them doing that, it's refreshing. Not just refreshing, it's empowering. It's strengthening for our nation. I think it's a good thing for our nation when the national leaders, especially something that's high visibility, are involved in the process. And I'm grateful for that.
That's a dig.
And, I'm just glad that they're involved and they take notice. And, our
That's a dig.
situation, I think I've mentioned before, maybe wasn't the perfect situation.
That's a dig.
But allowed a lot of people, including the president and Elon, to look at what's going on the International Space Station, take it very seriously, and understand that our involvement as a country, as a spacefaring nation, is really important throughout the world. And it sets an example, and it shows, our ability to be able to do the hard things, put people in space, operate in space, work in space, and then bring us back. It's important, and I appreciate that them and many, many, many more people took notice of it.
Isn't that Wiedersehen in German? Is that a Ush or Uth?
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss is
Auf
like
Wiedersehen.
bye, but Auf Wiedersehen is like, what the hell is
it's
it?
formal.
It's
It's
far
formal.
more formal.
It's like shatamante kudasai, or so it's a formal greeting.
Yeah,
or a formal goodbye, right?
It's something like I wish to see you in the future, and I hope to see you after that, or something along those lines.
Hello, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Is that what it is? No? Are we going to gay it up? Bye.
Oh, look at that. I'm a woman. Just like that.
That's it. Bye.
I did it that way.
Dude, those astronauts threw, I mean, how many times could you throw under the Biden administration out of the bus? You know what I mean? It's so nice to have something. Kevster, $20. That a boy. Thanks, Kev. We're close, buddy.
I'll
Close,
say this.
man.
Astronauts and people of that level, those people with, 2 masters and a doctorate under their belt, they sure do have the most polished way of either admonishing a prior administration or praising another administration, and make it sound like poetry.
Yeah, they do. It's incredible. And if you listen to pilots under high stress situations, like listen to the black box, these guys are like, all right, we're going down. We've dropped 10,000 feet. We're 1,000 feet above the. All right, I want to say goodbye to my wives and fans and family, and we love you very much. And 2010 and goodbye. And you're just like, wow, dude, your heart rate must not have got above 72.
Right.
So these guys have seen it all, and but what they realize, like a brain surgeon who throws an artery or, makes a slip up with a cut, that emotion isn't going to fix the problem. And I've seen operators the same way. I mean, you'll see it like somebody who takes live fire for the first time, and if you're watching on like ISR or you're in the shit, and you'll see people react in a very different way that you always know who's been beyond the wire longer than a couple weeks. Yeah, or a first timer, some frog. Yeah, some proby frog goes out, and you're watching them on ISR, and you can see, you can see the newbies a little bit more than you can see the veteran salt. Go ahead, buddy.
Wow, first time I ever saw an actual no shit in firefight that was unplanned and where people died. It was happening several hundred miles away. So I was never in any danger, but I was watching this just exactly what Matt is describing. I was like this, oh my God, what the hell? I want to do something. Give me something to do. And I was so keyed up from that. And there's literally nothing you can do. And so that experience that Matt is talking about from that pilot who's saying, well, we're going down. There we go. 50 feet, 40, 30. There's that monotone calmness about it. I didn't have it. I just simply didn't have it. And I was extremely emotional. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Matt.
Yeah. So when like we were talking about formal and informal, and some people understand it, some people who don't. Tschüss is informal goodbye in German, right? Well, it's just like thank you in Japanese. It's arigato, and with a slight downward nod, and then to be polite is arigato gozaimasu, and then domo arigato gozaimashite is very polite and formal. So there's 3 different ways to say thank you in Japanese. And the bow always corresponds with the level and the length of your thank you. And several languages the same way. So that's the way. It's just like when we say thanks, thank you, or thank you very much.
Danke, yeah.
Danke, donkey dipshit. One last one, and then we're going to call it good. 21.30. Folks, we are $13.76 away. Whatever you can do, we would appreciate it. Let's make it happen. Liberal man encourages everyone to shoot at ICE agents. I'm telling you that's not a good idea because they have guns and they will shoot back. Yeah.
Shoot at ICE agents on site.
Yep, that's the one. Here he is.
Are you knucking futz?
Yeah, he's knucking futz. This is and he has some things to say. Here it is.
Shoot at ICE agents on site. That's right. If ICE agents are
Bobby Richardson, $62.29. Thank you, Bobby. $350.05. Thank you for letting us hit it.
Thank you, Bobby.
We appreciate you, Bobby. Thanks for chipping in. She's amazing. She helps out so much.
Trying to take you or a loved one, shoot them on sight. The way they're pulling up with masks on, with unmarked vehicles, no badge, no nothing, it could be anybody. It can be gang members. You have every right to shoot at them. This would be the best self-defense case. You're just in fear for your life. You don't know who's behind that unmarked vehicle or who's behind that mask. This is ridiculous. What is our country coming to? Why would you want to be an ICE agent anyway? Do you like separating kids from their parents? Do you like deporting?
Here's the video he's talking about. There's masks and there are a bunch of badges. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges.
Stinking badges.
Here's the
Students that are studying? I can understand deporting
That's what he sounds like anyway.
Yeah.
My frijoles and my bean
a gang member or criminals. But innocent people, it's ridiculous. The way these ICE agents...
Okay. We don't need to hear anymore. I think we have enough. Just real quick. When they are doing an undercover sting, they're not required to mark their cars. They're not required to wear uniform. They are responsible to show a badge and identify themselves, which they all did once they told you were under arrest. I will tell you this. If you shoot at an ICE agent, if you shoot at DEA, if you shoot at FBI, if you shoot at CIA, I promise you this, it'll be the last thing you ever do. You can't outrun a radio. They will catch you. And remember the Luigi Mangione thing. And everyone's like, he's an assassin and he's going to get away. I said, he's in Central Park and he dumped his clothes. He probably left a backpack in a trash can. He's going to ditch the cameras there, but they're going to back and pick him back up. They're going to find his vehicle. They're going to go ahead and get ident on him somehow, and they'll catch him within 72 hours. I was wrong. It was 86 hours. Okay? So today's world, you can't hide. And there is just too much unattainable evidence that you don't possess. And your signature is too big. Leroy, anything else you want to talk about this guy? I don't know what else to say. To this
Don't do it. Just, if somebody from ICE or the police or anything like that asks you for your time and attention in the most courteous way, please comply. And everyone knows that I'm one of these guys that I don't like a lot of overreaching government, but in this case, that guy's a moron, right? Don't ever pull a gun on anybody with a badge because you will not go home. They will. Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we go, do you know Kevin Corke? Do you know who he is?
No, I don't know who that is.
That's Kevin Corke. He's on Fox News all the time. And it's really interesting. So we were watching Fox on the weekend, I don't know, about a year ago. And we're like, I'm like, God, I know who that guy is. Because that is the softest looking black man I've ever seen. He's just soft on the eyes. He's got that model Seal and Bobby Brown look. He's just got that glamour look, you know? And I'm like, God, he looks familiar. I remember, but he looks like he's a doll or something, you know, like a Barbie doll. So I started looking him up, and I used to watch him, Denver Broncos and Colorado Avalanche. He was on Channel 9, I think, back in Colorado. So I comment on his posts from time to time, and now he's on Fox and he hosts the weekend shows, and they're plugging him in more and more and more, which I'm really excited about. So I reached out to him and I just said, hey man, you know, we've talked on X several times and I'd love to have you on the show. So he's going to check it out, and he might be, love you, buddy. He might be coming on. So that would be a hell of a conversation. So
nice.
That's
That'll
it.
Be cool.
Leroy, you get your minute. Go ahead, and then we'll punch out, buddy.
All right, sounds good. Well, you know, normally I go ahead and hash over everything that we've done throughout the show. I will say that I will try and tune into one of the episodes of Redacted and just see if it is something that strikes my fancy. I promised Matt, because Matt says that I don't ever watch his movie recommendations. So I'm committing to Gallipoli. Mel Gibson, I will put in the time and effort. I'm going to do a little me time, right? And I will make sure that I watch that. Still Point, thank you so much for everything that you've done in terms of helping the show. Barry Morgenstein, watched your show when you were on Friday. Thank you, Jesus. You guys are awesome. That says it's a little blurry on my screen. Something
Adios, USAID.
Nice. So thank you to Barry. Barry, you're an amazing dude. Thank you to Wimkin TV. Thank you to everyone who donated tonight. You guys are amazing. Thank you. And that's all I got.
Yeah, Kevin Cork's a good dude. We're going to try to get him on. We're also working on Friday night hosts. This Friday might be hard, but every Friday night we're going to try to bring on a new guest host, and you got to book those. But there's a lot of good news. Olivia might be coming on full time. We wanted to get your opinions on one thing, which is to do a morning show. We used to do them. And they were fairly popular, but Olivia and I are thinking of doing it. Do you guys have an appetite for that? Do you have an appetite to do like an hour-and-a-half morning show?
I used to tune into those and watch you when I was working. And occasionally I'd throw a comment on there, but yeah, that was a long time ago.
Well, let's see how it works.
I liked them when they were on.
Okay, well then maybe it's something we can do. You know, we'll see. We want your opinions. Let us know. Send an email to Olivia at The Dumb Show. Once again, thank you everyone for subscribing. Tomorrow we'll be on. It is Wednesday night. It'll be Olivia and myself and Amy. We'll be on Wednesday. And everybody, thanks for taking care of us. Friday we'll be on, and birthday time, so we'll do something fun. Maybe I'll bring in some kid pictures or something like that. Leroy, thanks for a great night tonight, buddy. We'll see you guys next time on the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Good night.
Everyone have a great night.
Thanks, buddy.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.